Welcome to Night Night, a podcast about 8 seasons in a row. I'm Lisa Fernandez, and
1, 2, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock rock. I'm Chris J. Warden. Hello.
5, 6, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock. We are reviewing the girls' appearances on Happy Days, at least the ones that we haven't previously covered before. This was a request on Twitter after we hit 100 members on YouTube. We're almost at 200 as of this recording. We're probably going to hit 200 by the time this recording comes out, with any luck. So, this is a treat for all of y'all who have stuck with us, and we promise to cover these episodes, and so we will.
Yeah.
Yeah. First up is the girls' very first appearance. This was in Season 3 of Happy Days. It's called A Date With Fonzie, written by the legendary Lowell Gantz and Mark Rothman, and directed by Jerry Paris, who's also a huge legend in of himself. Let's look at how quickly the spinoff was fast-tracked.
Oh my gosh.
After this episode aired. This aired in November of 1975. The girls' next appearance on the show was January of 76. And then their third appearance happened on the day the spinoff aired. In January as well. So this was fast-tracked in just a few scant number of months. It's really impressive, and that's what Penny and Cindy said, and it seemed to happen like this.
Yeah.
Snap of the finger.
Snap at the fingers.
Yeah. Snap of the finger.
There actually, have you seen Rothman's interview with the Foundation of Television Academy?
I definitely have.
Yeah, because his story about how they had to convince Silverman, because Silverman had just one hesitation. Fred Silverman being the person that would have to sign off on the show for it to get spun off. Do you remember that story?
I don't entirely remember it, so please repeat it for us all.
So basically, they wanted it so fast that they ended up, basically Rothman and Gans just wrote the hell out of this one 15-minute scene because Silverman said, "Can the girls? I need to see them on their own. We see them as a foursome, but we don't see the girls on their own. That's all I'm missing.
Yes.
Just write like a 10-minute scene of them after the date, and them talking about the date afterwards." So they basically used what was available to them, and they redressed Fonzie's apartment to be the girls' apartment just for this one shoot. They ended up actually having to shoot this sort of quote-unquote pilot of the post-date discussion. It's like a 15-minute sequence during the taping of Season 3 of Happy Days' finale. That's Arnold's wedding. It means that Gans and Rothman were unable to punch up the script for that episode, and apparently the audience could tell it was not ready for showtime. And Gary, as the host of the live audience, had to be the hype man, saying, "We have a brand new thing, and we need to get you guys to just bear with us. We have this new thing. Stick around. We need this for your we want to get your reactions and see how this is coming along. But we're getting to premiere, brand new, never before seen, possible spinoff here." Yeah. Rothman says as soon as that scene, when Penny and Cindy do their version of it, their 10-15-minute scene, it's the light bulb goes off. They cut it together with this episode we're about to review, Date with Fonzie. They put that 10-15-minute thing on it, give it to Silverman. He green lights the spinoff, and that was it.
And it was greenlit only with Penny attached as Laverne, with Phil Foster attached as Frank, and with Eddie Mecca attached as Carmine Ragusa. Cindy, they had to convince to come on board, and the boys obviously were not involved until all the way past. We were just getting ready to shoot the pilot. They came aboard and as writers and as the boys. So a lot of luck was involved in the launching of Laverne Shirley, which is amazing considering how mixed the show's luck was once it was on the air and launched. I know that the reason why the girls were tested out this way, with that little tiny sample of a film of the test, is because they were looking to fill the slot right after Happy Days. They gave it to Gary because Happy Days was doing so well, and they trusted him to fill it. And Gary looked at his sister, decided to employ his sister, and then everything else just fell into place. So that's how you ended up with everything. We know the girls were writing partners for all this.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. Here's what the episode's about. Richie Cunningham is all thumbs when it comes to women. Fortunately, his older best friend, Arthur Fonzie, knows how to help him score. But even the Fonz has had to do battle with a titanic case of nerves like his, which, inspired by a 4-month relationship that's left him out of practice, has left Richie lacking the confidence enough to approach the opposite sex. After Richie's attempt at meeting the girls at the supermarket and other locales go poorly, Fonzie calls up two sure things from his little black book. Laverne DeFazio and Shirley Feeney are two attention-getting beauties, the wrong side of the tracks, who don't mind not even being treated to dinner before putting out, so to speak. Make out. Whatever. Whichever direction we want to go in. While they both make it clear that they're hot to trot, especially with Richie's parents and sister out of town, Richie's abruptly returning family and a right hook from Shirley Feeney changes things quickly. Will we make it out live? What do you think of this one?
I did actually see this episode way back when it was on the Nick at Night syndication run. Because for those who are not as familiar with our Night After Night Laverne Shirley episodes, yeah, I'm young enough to not have seen this during its original run. But
I was 4 when the show went off the air.
So. Wow. Yeah. But with rewatching these episodes, I was struck by the fact that, I watched a lot of Happy Days on Nick at Night.
Yeah.
Lots, like a lot of them. It was something I watched all the time. Even though I really didn't like the show that much, I watched it a ton. I mean, I liked Fonzie. To be honest, I actually really liked Richie. And that I think says a lot about me as a person.
I think a lot of folks do like Richie, though, because a lot of folks do kind of attach him. He's a nice guy, even though he does kind of do Lori Beth dirty later in the season in a lot of ways. Goes out with other girls and just kind of puts her off.
Yeah, but but when the gals come on, they're so distinctive that you can see why it just blows up the screen, and they are, basically having to pull themselves in, because it's a pretty okay, like it's a decent to middling first half of the episode. Like this whole Richie lost his confidence, like it's very clear, like it's understandable what the plot is, but a lot of the gags, like the only gag outside of the girls being in the episode, the only thing I really liked was the shoplifter in the supermarket, and that was kind of it. The other gags and jokes were cute, but it was like, they didn't land as like really haha funny. I mean, admittedly, there was the thing where you end up finding out that Marion has been hit on and harassed by the old man at the supermarket as well. Keeps bumping his shopping cart into her. But anywho, For me, like, I enjoy Fonzie in a sparing amount. It depends on the episode, because of how much I like Fonzie and how much I like Richie, because they both have the jerk switch, so to speak. Fonzie, goes out with so many women he doesn't remember any of them, and depending on the episode and how that's portrayed, that can be funny and it can be gross. Yeah.
So it all depends on the tone and all depends on the episode. And this episode, it works out because Laverne has a spine.
Mm-hmm. There's only so much he's going to take from him.
Yeah. Penny Marshall immediately walks onto that set and onto our screens and owns it. She is immediately Laverne. She immediately knows who this girl is. She immediately knows where she's going. And she immediately grabs the screen and does not let go of it. Cindy is a little more subtle, and it's going to take her a while to understand who Shirley is. It takes, like, I'd say about 3 appearances before Shirley starts to feel like Shirley on the show.
That's a good. I think it's a good assessment. I also find with Cindy Williams as an actor, she would have been just coming off of The Conversation at this point, and the work that she was doing before Happy Days, before Laverne and Shirley, is much more internal. And when you see how subtle an actor she can be, and when we get to Laverne and Shirley episodes like Who's Papa, Buddy, Can You Spare a Father, Mother Knows Worse, there are some wonderful physicality and expressive gestures that I think that really is the juice and the meat of what she likes to do as an actor, which Shirley, I think at this stage, Shirley didn't have those layers for her to play with yet.
Yeah. That kind of trails in Laverne Shirley itself. Shirley becomes Shirley, I'd say, somewhere around One Flew Over Milwaukee, is where she starts feeling like the character she's always going to be.
I was thinking the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah. That's when she starts developing her own sense of naivete. And that is where she develops her sense of faith and goodness and morality. And this is ultimately where she becomes the sweet yang to Laverne's yin, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
And it takes her a while to figure out that balance, but she gets there. But Penny immediately knows who Laverne is. She just immediately does. And she just attacks it. Bam.
There's a certain element I find with Penny's Laverne when she explodes on the screen here as well, that she feels more unleashed than she does in some of her other pre-Laverne and Shirley roles. Because when you watch, even like the from what I've seen of images of her in Paul Sands and Friends and Lovers.
Yes.
It's what was it? Was it The Odd Couple? It was The Odd Couple, right? She was regular on that as well.
For sure. Yes, she was Myrna Turner.
Right, and it's where it sort of feels more like like she's very small and the show is very big.
Yes.
Here, it's like the balance of show and actor match in size. And so she's able to it's kind of like the dancer gets the floor that's just right for them. Yes.
She finds her niche. She knows exactly what she's doing and why. And that's what's beautiful. As Myrna, she has to be more inward, more reserved. Even when she's Paula in Mary Tyler Moore Show. Again, there's another single girl who's more inward and more reserved. And Paul Sands in Friends and Lovers, she's the complaining pregnant lady who doesn't get to develop past the pregnancy, so to speak. Ultimately, she finally figures out that broad comedy is good for her. And it's something that never steers her wrong her entire career. So
I wonder to what extent that also is the difference of having Jerry Paris directing her.
Yeah, possibly. Jerry Paris, of course, you get to see Jerry Paris develop even more as a director throughout Happy Days. He becomes their principal director. He is their principal director at this point, and he directs the majority of the show. Laverne and Shirley did not have that security of having a single director shepherd them all the way through the whole run. And Jerry Paris did a great job of taking care of Happy Days that way.
He did. And as we were mentioning as we watched these episodes was the amount of coverage and details that are in these episodes compared to even the higher quality episodes of Laverne and Shirley is kind of staggering. What it also, I wonder, is partly that Jerry's background as an actor in the 50s, and I mean even to the point that he was uncredited bit parts in the late 40s. He's uncredited as one of the lab techs in Monkey Business, the Howard Hawks picture.
Yes, he is. He's in that movie. Yeah.
But, when you get to his character actor roles, they're like 0 Hour, The K Mutiny, Drive a Crooked Road, which, Lisa, is one of my favorite film noirs.
Yes, you brought that up.
And it's it kind of makes you wonder, as he then also directs Dick Van Dyke, but also That Girl, The Munsters, things like that. Those are much more theatrical, or I should say feature film-like productions and what they were trying to shoot for and aim for. And it feels like Laverne and Shirley is more like stage vaudeville. It's more lock the camera to make it like you're watching this amazing play getting performed in front of you.
Yeah. I don't know how much of that was the lack of rehearsal. I don't know how much of that was the on-set strain that everybody was struggling under. I know that there wasn't a lot of rehearsal happening on the set of Laverne and Shirley. Happy Days has the loose, relaxed feeling of a set where everybody actually likes each other and talks to each other. And that's just true. That's just the difference between the two shows. That's the ultimate difference between the two shows. Happy Days has the chance to have spare time, have actual rehearsals. Their actors would show up for rehearsals. They show up for the table reads and be happy. They wouldn't fight the writers too much. So the directors had time to experiment. Had time to have fun with it, be more creative, get extra coverage. Because the actors would not fight them, would work with them, and would be on point. And Laverne and Shirley, obviously, the girls would, This is disgusting. These girls wouldn't say that. This is a sweat hogs line from the boys. Let's set the script on fire.
Right.
So that's the ultimate difference between the two shows. And plus it helps, like, Jerry Paris could go from week to week to week and see something on the set, go, aha, and then, build up from it.
Yeah, because I was watching a interview with Jerry Paris as part of my research for doing this podcast, and this would have been the early 80s because, unfortunately, as we know, he tragically passed away in 86. But he actually goes over how, like, his rehearsal process is about he was very into experimentation.
Yes, you can tell.
That was something that he learned about doing comedy, is that if you experiment with a little gesture, it's just the subtlest thing. And he actually gets the two interviewers. I want to say this might have been Eileen Prouse, I think.
Yes.
That was the show that it was on. And he gets her and the co-host to say a line to each other and then do a physical gesture afterward. And within seconds, he's basically directed them to do a bit. And it works. Wow. It's not, side-splittingly funny, but it works, and it bonds you to those characters that he's now created before your very eyes. That level of experimentation is something I think that serves him very well, because I feel like Happy Days, like Laverne Shirley and like a lot of these sitcoms, work best when they're not just relying on the catchphrases or the just the standard plots, that it's actually the it's the little directed moments. Like there's a great one when the family comes home at the end of the episode where Cheryl's all over Richie and they cover Joanie's eyes and she can't see anything, and then when they finally let the hand go back and they move aside, she goes, "Oh man, I didn't get to see anything." Like that. It's a great little bit, and it's so in character for Joanie, because Joanie is the one that's constantly being told to go to her room and not being allowed to do anything.
Yep, and to avoid the smut.
Right.
To avoid any appearance of smut.
Yes. The S cannot actually be used to create the word smut, as it turns out.
Yeah. I think that in the end, that what happened was, once the flow of rehearsals could move into that kind of like impulsive like testing, you'd get scenes like that. Mm-hmm. What a lot of Laverne and Shirley would be something improvised because the girls had that telepathic connection. As Cindy used to say, the two of them could look at each other, see something, and come up with a bit without even speaking to each other about it, which is amazing. Mm-hmm. I still love that. I just love that. But that's the difference between the two shows. That is why Happy Days is different from Laverne and Shirley in a lot of different ways. I think Jerry Paris is also just plain more talented than certain directors Laverne and Shirley get stuck with.
I think so too. Yeah. And which is, that is a very disparaging, as much as that is a disparaging remark to make. The catch is that when you look at the careers of those directors, they often just did a few things. They were working directors, but Jerry was a master. He was a guy that probably, had he lived, another 15, 20, 25, 30 years, he probably would have fostered and trained other directors to be like him. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Ron Howard, probably, but I wouldn't be surprised that, Ron Howard's saying that Jerry inspired a lot of his directing craft for his early work, because Ron Howard is a very talented director as well. So Yeah, Ron has spoken about who influenced him. I think Jerry Paris was among the people who influenced him into becoming a director. I know Andy Griffith had a hand in there. A lot of people had a hand in there in encouraging him to go behind the camera one day. Thus he did. Ended up with an Oscar. But that's the kind of like genial atmosphere the Happy Days brought forth. I was going to mention specifically in Fonzie's funeral, there's some great night driving scenes. Yes.
Which you never saw in Laverne and Shirley. Never. They did not leave that back lot. They rarely left that back lot. But he had some beautiful shots of Ron Howard just driving down a street, and it's dark enough where you can't tell whether driving past cars that would be more appropriate to the 1970s than to the 1950s or 1960s, but it's really good footage. And then all the stuff having to do with the explosion of Broncos,
right,
is really good.
It's really good. Yeah, it's well
yeah.
staged. I mean, and yes, it's backlot, but it's enough that it's like, okay, pass is good enough.
Yeah.
It passes muster, unlike, say, I don't know, the Ajax building grounds where the Paramount gift shop is literally in the fucking background.
God, they just gave up during season 8. I told you they gave up during season 8.
Man, it was so much worse than I expected. I'm amazed.
I warned you.
Yeah.
I warned you. And also, let's not forget when they turned Knapp Street into a random New York City block.
Oh, God,
can't forget that.
That's right. Can't forget that.
It's
with facades down an alley that show, hey, they're shooting a Western down there.
Yeah. The amazing thing about all of this is that, God, they did not even take Laverne Shirley off to the Paramount Ranch. Happy Days had a whole season opening arc where at least they got to go to the Paramount Ranch. They got to film on location Jumping the Shark. They got to do all kinds of on location shooting, which Laverne Shirley didn't get to do.
Yeah, Laverne and Shirley got basically in the Army for location. Yep. They got the backlot stuff for driving scenes and a couple of things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, they get a little bit of that for season 8's, the Ajax exterior. Yeah. Man. Yeah, but it's they never did location shooting for the Bitten's Most Important Day Ever. They don't do it for any of Sonny's, because they could have literally have had just a quick bit shot, on a Wild West, TV set, where Sonny's doing a fall, and
closest we get to that is Studio City,
which is basically just the same set. They just pulled in some props from wardrobe, pulled in some leftovers.
Yep. It's just another part of the studio.
Right.
My God, I wonder if that was just a budgetary thing, which couldn't have possibly been. They would have thrown tons of money at the show by season 2. Season 2, season 3, season 4, season 5, they would have thrown tons of money at that show and taken it on location in various places. So it's kind of amazing to me that they basically never, ever, ever leave the studio, ever. The point where the girls are complaining about it, where they were just saying they were basically living in the studio for weeks and weeks and weeks, and were shocked that they were famous. And it's yeah.
Which I again comes back to this whole thing of, having to manage all these different shows at once, which is one of the interesting things I find. We're going to get to this. We've been talking very much, existentially about all this, but when we get to covering these episodes in detail, there is an interesting jump in the quality, or I guess the cleanliness of the season 3 episodes to jump into the season 6 episodes. Yes. Because by the time you get to season 6, even Rothman and Gans, I mean, they had been trying to lead pilots and develop other shows, like Bustin' Loose and the other Brooker Brown show that was a Walking On By.
Yes.
And all of that. And so there was so much. So imagine though, that means that if Gary is sort of the godfather of this empire, he's basically having to manage all of these different productions at once. And it's kind of where do you put the most time and resources? Because to a certain extent, you got to put them pretty much where they're best suited. That's the conundrum, I think, that comes up, especially then once it starts to expand. And then, the people that you've fostered on these shows decide to, hey, I want to go do my own thing. So then they go off and they create bosom buddies, or they create, what is it? Hardly Working, or Making It. Thank you. That's the one. The Michael Keaton one.
Working Stiffs.
Working Stiffs. Thank you.
Working Stiffs is the Michael Keaton one.
But yeah,
Making It's the disco one.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. Yeah, these are things I don't know. See, so folks, for reference, because this will probably be going up in the middle of season 7 episodes, is my suspicion. Yeah. I've gotten to the point. It's not that I hate all of this and have this despite or anything. It's that I've actually been free of the sitcom minds for a few weeks now. It's been kind of nice because now I can look up that hey, Jerry Paris directed Viva Max, which was a wild romp, and actually had Larry Bully Show Hankin in a small role.
Oh wow!
And also the Jerry Lewis film Don't Raise the Bridge, Lower the River, which I think also had some other connections to Happy Days later on. But anyway, so coming back though to A Date with Fonzie, Richie's in trouble. Fonz needs to help him out.
Yes.
Do we have an idea
Yes.
of how many times this has happened as a plot on this show?
There are several stock Happy Days plots, and Gary Marshall was not ashamed that each of his sitcoms had a certain stock amount of plots. The stock plots included Richie's in trouble, Fonzie helps him. Stock plot 2, Fonzie gets in way over his head due to his confidence but manages to come out the other side due to his coolness. Stock plot 3, somebody tries to rape Joanie, and Fonzie rides to her rescue. Stock plot 4, everybody goes on vacation.
My God.
And those are basically the Happy Days stock plots. Occasionally you'll get a Ralph plot. Occasionally you will get a Potsy plot. But those are the stock plots.
I don't know why you would want a Ralph plot after I've watched these episodes.
I like Ralph. Ralph's actually one of my favorite characters.
The guy who spoils the ending of Psycho when the film is still in theaters.
Yeah, I mean, he's not like he's doing it maliciously. He's just dumb.
I don't care. I don't care. I don't care. I don't fucking care. You don't do that. Anyway, so we have this pretty typical, conceit, this plot. Fonz takes him into his office, into the guy's room, and basically sees him just, after seeing Richie essentially just blow it.
Yes.
And he goes, okay, but I guess I gotta get a new sign. Fonz lives over Nerd's garage.
Because he tries to move out before that, but Richie says no. I liked a couple lines before this. For girls, you play for girls.
That is true. That was cute. Yeah, the whole band thing is a very cute conceit with the trio.
Yes.
Oh, that's right. And this is the Be My Valentine dance. That was adorable.
Yes, it is. Unlike the Swigtones, Richie's band is not looking to go pro. Everybody's got different goals in their life, so they're just basically playing Saturdays to have fun at Arnold's. So that's why that makes their band different, and what makes Potsy's crooning different. So the Dutch angles here were interesting. A lot of extras.
A lot of extras, yes. Including among them some regular extras that would show up in these. So one of them, for instance, is Kate McDonough, who shows up on Laverne and Shirley later on, and Airport 59, and also in a fashion show. She was the woman who gets progressively more and more drunk as the presenter. But yeah, she was in like a whopping 12 episodes of the 75-76 season. So yes, we've got the regulars, Dutch angles, we have all that kind of imagery going forth.
Yes.
Which was nice and refreshing. That was a cool way to sort of begin the episode in a way that's like, okay, we're not just going to open this on a master shot of the space before we get to two people talking at a booth, which, again, I remember a lot of Happy Days episodes that did that.
Yes. We spend so many hours with the four of them crammed in a booth just talking it out. And that's fine. That's nicely done. It's like a nice establishment. It gives you a sense of coziness. So eventually, we have so many episodes of them doing that at the end of the show, we get that super poignant episode where Richie comes back and he tells his family, I want to go to Hollywood and be a screenwriter instead of a journalist. And the four of them go into the booth and they sit together. And it's like, wow, we're grown up now. And that's like really nice. Happy Days, I have to give credit to them. They knew how to end that show. They knew how to pay proper tribute to the characters. And they even knew how to grow them. Fonzie, by the end of the show, is not the same Fonzie he is in season 3. He starts out as this kid-hating dude who's just here for the ladies, just here to ride his bike and be cool. And by the end of the show, he's a foster dad. He's an adoptive father, actually. He stops fostering the kid. He becomes an adoptive dad. And that shows growth. And he becomes a teacher. He spends all his time in high school.
Wow.
Yeah. Ultimately, the characters grow in a way that feels legitimate to them. And Laverne Shirley almost gets there, but it doesn't succeed in sticking the land. It would be wonderful to see Shirley finally getting to become an upper-class doctor's wife, housewife, and we don't get to see it. We just get screwed out of it. Yeah.
But a lot of that, I think, also comes down to, as we've said before, like, Happy Days was the set that people had fun with. And Laverne and Shirley is the one that was a nightmare for a lot of people, especially as it got towards the last 2-3 seasons. I feel like if they had allowed the actors an out and said, okay, we're going to work together, writers and actors, and we're going to give these characters a send-off.
Yes.
Because it reminds me of like
Yeah.
the story about Parks and Rec, and that one of the reasons the show actually lasted as long as it did is the writers' room had all these plans for these characters, and they realized, crap, we're gonna be canceled by the end of this year. Let's just do all the
Yeah.
plots we want to do now.
Yeah. Yeah, and they did it. They went for it. They did a time skip to get them all in too.
Yeah.
Which is what's amazing. Which I half agreed with. I liked a lot of things in the time skip, so I'm not gonna fight that.
But I guess what I mean is even
Yes.
April and Andy's wedding,
Yes.
that was meant for like a season and a half later. They did not think they were getting past the third season.
Oh wow! So they said, "Screw it, let's do it." That's what they needed to think of. That's what Laverne Shirley needed to think. The problem with the show is absolutely that they got so caught up in the minutia of silver bracelets and silver bangles and silver barrettes that they didn't realize that America adores these characters, the world loves these girls, and we want to see them have a real happy ending. Instead, sadly, Bill Hudson happened to Cindy, though I'm sure she doesn't consider that sadly. She loved her children. Her kids are great. The way it's good he happened to her. It's not good for her career, but it was good for her, personal life and family. Bill Hudson happens to her and goes down in flames with her and Gary. At least they reconciled before anybody died, which is good. But with her gone, we cannot plan this happy ending for the girls. And I wouldn't have even wanted to see the girls go into this couples show, no matter how good things would have been with Larry Breeden. Can you imagine, though, if they'd have committed to that, to Laverne and Mike getting together? And that it started to be a thing, and then halfway through the season, the poor guy gets killed off. It would have been just one more heartbreak for Laverne,
Yeah, not worth it. Not worth it.
It would have been one more heartbreak for Laverne. It would have been another Randy situation.
Exactly.
At that point, you just shove her at Lenny and just give up. Like, really, you just give up.
It really also just comes out. But I guess what I mean is that if they had wrapped in season 6 or 7, because like as we said, the end of season 6, Child's Play, that's not a bad place to go out. And if they knew if they knew that was for sure, they could have wrapped up other threads with Pop and Edna, and and with Rhonda and with Carmine and Shirley and all that. A lot of that could have been cleaned up, but again, that whole move to California was just such a disaster. Is I think overstating it. I do think that or exaggeration, but it definitely is. It was done very inelegantly. Yeah. And I think it was there were a lot of challenges that they had, and I'm willing to bet they had a lot of executive notes too. They had people telling them, we need this, we need that, do this, do that. This is
all Gary's idea, though. This is Gary's idea. He did this because he thought they could goose the ratings back up and bring celebrities on.
Sure, but
the trouble is they had to be celebrities that were appropriate to the era.
Yeah, we're saying this, by the way. That statement from Lisa, by the way, is in relation to the fact that as of today, we just put out the Friendly Persuasion episode.
Charles Grodin, you would not be as famous as these girls.
But anyway, so coming back to Date with Fonzie, though, is I'm trying to like get us back on track because we've been at this for quite a bit.
Yeah.
Shirley's name is on the wall in the bathroom.
Yes, it
with
is.
With the phone number.
Yep. That shows that we are in Bizarro Land.
And it also, my note is, oh no, Hector must have been here already.
Oh yeah, Hector. Hector call back.
Also, fuck you, Hector.
Fuck you, Hector. I actually needed to complete my thought about all that. But like the reason they brought all these celebrities in, they thought it was going to goose the ratings up. I will never regret season 6 happening. I will never regret the move to California because we got a lot of really great plots and a lot of really great episodes out of that. And I don't know if you could have done Dating Game on the East Coast. But somewhere around season 7 or season 8, I would have just gone ahead and moved them to New York. The New York move would have been healthier for the show in the long run because it would have kept them blue collar, as Penny pointed out. We could see what the girls felt like struggling in a bigger pond. That's slightly more dangerous than Milwaukee. That's even bigger city. And the boys trying to get a grip on their careers in New York. So like it's ill thought out in that everybody panics because the ratings plunged in season 5. And the only reason the ratings plunged in season 5 is because ABC got cocky and thought it could lead a whole night. And it couldn't.
Which is the sad thing is that it's one of those, you don't have the power of hindsight because you're reacting to what's in front of you.
Yeah.
And if they decide, okay, we're going to take 4 months to, because remember, this is before videotape, this is before rentals, this is before streaming. Because imagine, we've seen these situations where a show does okay in a season or has a middling season because of the time change. Then it hits DVD, then it hits streaming, and people realize, holy crap, this is awesome. And they get picked up for another season because of it. Firefly is an amazing example. And season 5 of Laverne and Shirley is something that could have benefited from that, because they would have then seen, hey, we actually, the audience likes what we did. They just didn't have the capacity to see it.
Yep. Because The Diner has become one of the most legendary sitcom episodes in the history of television.
Absolutely.
In the history of television. And there are so many episodes in season 5 that the show stands remembered for. And the trouble is, nobody knew at the time. Nobody knew that it was going to have a big legacy behind it.
Exactly.
So that's what stuck. We did have like early primitive Betamax by about 1980, which is around when season 5 happened. But it wasn't widespread. It wasn't mainstream yet.
There was no keep circulating the tapes happening.
Yep, there was no keep circulating the tapes happening. Well, reminds me of what happened with Gidget. Gidget didn't do well in the fall, but it became a huge hit over the summer. And Cold Gems and I think it was CBS that was airing Gidget, panicked and realized, oh no, Sally Field's becoming a huge star. We gotta grab her and do something with her. And because they felt like they couldn't go back and get everything back together and do a second season of Gidget, that's how The Flying Nun happens.
Okay. That's an interesting story. Okay.
Yeah. Made by the same producers, made by the same production company, made by the same network. Sally Field was miserable because she wanted to be a teenager. She was in her late teens at that time. And all she wanted to do was be a teenager and be cool, and Gidget allowed her to do that. And unfortunately, Flying Nun, you could not be cool. You were the Flying Nun. And she got out of her contract by getting pregnant.
Good for her.
That's how you do it. Because she wanted a serious acting career, and she was tired of being the Flying Nun, and she was miserable, and she just wanted to do something else. And, she tried to do other things like The Girl with Something Extra, where she had ESP. And then, of course, she did Sybil, and bam, now she's a serious actress. And
right.
After that, the Emmys, the Oscars, the deluge. But that's how you do it.
Of course.
Yeah.
Speaking
and now
of
you
the
know something about Sally Field.
Speaking of deluge,
yes.
Cue the supermarket set that they probably use for every single Paramount Television project.
Yeah. I think that's the same setup that they had the girls' supermarket. Unless I'm nuts.
There are parts of it. I think what it is the wall pieces and displays. I would have to go back and do screen cap checks. So I'm not going to say that certainly, but it would not surprise me. I do love the conversation between Fonzie. See, the conversation, the banter with Fonzie, Richie, this is what I watch the show for. It's like, it's like, Fonzie, you shop? No, little elves bring all the food to my door. Of course I shop.
Don't become a monk. You'll hate the hairstyle.
Yeah, exactly. Like that line. I fucking love that line.
Yeah, that's the kind of banter where you feel like these two guys are friends.
Exactly.
And they're very close. And they're just like Josh and teasing each other. That's the best part about Happy Days. The way Fonzie goes from this too cool dude to Richie breaking him down and saying, yeah, well, I'm not going to take this stuff from you, Fonz. Sorry. And Fonzie becomes more and more human, and they get closer and closer and closer. And then that's his blood brother. That's his best friend.
Yeah.
Where he's literally telling him he loves him while he's in a coma because of a guy, motorcycle accidents. That'd be love. That's love. And that's some of the best stuff about Happy Days. Where if Laverne Shirley gives you sisterhood that you do anything for, Happy Days does the exact same thing with brotherhood.
Exactly.
And that's exactly true. Yeah. I'm cute. I'm witty. Poor Richie trying to meet all these women.
Yeah.
And it's not his fault that he has no idea what the hell he's doing. It's so not his fault. And because he's young.
And the quote-unquote helpful old guy is like, you're about all wrong. I came in here to pick up chicks, didn't you? I do great here.
Oh, God.
This is my first time. I can tell. You're the worst.
Oh. He was simultaneously incredibly creepy and yet funny.
Yes.
I don't know how the actor in question managed that, but he managed it pretty well. So I gotta give a hat tip to him for doing that.
So yeah, and then that also leads us directly to the shoplifter, and so that is, I believe, based on my research that I was able to do, that I believe that is credited as Debbie Chaffin. Or Chaffin.
Hey.
She was a regular on American Bandstand scene in the 70s when she was a teenager.
Oh.
Although was often uncredited, she showed up on 24 episodes of Laverne and Shirley. Laverne and Shirley. Sorry. Happy Days. Fuck.
Days.
I apologize, folks. I have a pattern here.
Laverne and Shirley upon your brain. She must have been one of the many, 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 many people who showed up as an extra sitting there.
But I honestly, her delivery of the lines here are amazing. You know, you're blocking the view of the store manager, and it's like, why should I let you do that? Because my boyfriend outside's going to beat you up. Or brother, sorry, the brother.
Yeah.
Is going to break your legs. Yeah, that's fantastic. Also, do we feel like the Richie bonking into Fonzie's cart is a Freudian slip? I thought you were a chick, Fonz. Hey.
Oh, hey. I love it when he's annoyed by nonsense. Hey.
Yeah, that very sudden, very sharp. Especially it's like, hey, you take that back or I'm going to slug you in the face.
Yeah, he's done with everybody's nonsense. I love Fonzie referring to Laverne by her last name, by the way.
Yes.
Fazio. Hey, DeFazio. Hey, Fonzie! It's so
Fonzie!
Great.
Oh, man.
My note, by the way, my last notes, my 2 notes on the supermarket scene. Creepy Cartman is almost funny. LMAO, I like shoplifting girls, she can stay.
She was fine. She was great. And I do like that it turns out they're looking for the accomplice, Richie the accomplice, it looks like, according to Marion.
Yeah, still looking for poor Richie. Hopefully he escaped without further incident from Kirk and the other evils of society. You remember Officer Kirk. You have to remember Officer Kirk.
I do now.
Yeah,
that guy. Anyway, so we have the first time the names are said on television. Put that in all caps. Laverne DeFazio and Shirley Feeney. They sound nice. They don't know the word no.
Poor girls. And eventually Shirley Feeney, boy does she know the word no. She memorizes the word no.
She probably has it like, she's going to have it like tattooed on her butt or something.
My name is no. That just made me think of my theory that someday Lenny has a script L put on his butt. Lenny has an L on his butt. Laverne has one on her shoulder.
Aww.
We got wild and drunk at Woodstock. It was great. I love the way Fonzie just tries to sell this. Richie, you're gonna get laid, Rich. You're gonna get laid.
Yeah, you figure probably Fonzie had enough time to get to third base with Laverne, but for Richie, it doesn't quite go so well.
Yeah. Fonzie at least will probably get a second with Laverne. At least second, this version of her. And in main canon, I can see them at least getting a second base, too.
Oh, totally. But, the actual Laverne and Shirley canon, absolutely.
Yeah, in actual Laverne and Shirley, That, Laverne apparently did not go anywhere, did not go that far except for Moose Crawford.
Yeah. Oh, to home run?
Love.
Yeah, to fourth, yeah.
Yeah, and then Brandy and other people, but anyway.
Which again just comes back to, it's like, if you're gonna lose it to somebody, the Fonz is a good person to lose it to.
Yeah, at least he has some kind of skills going on.
Yeah.
He has some kind of skills. Something.
But anyway, something.
Those girls
but anyway, also when the girls sit down and the guys are following.
Yes.
And there's a line, staring, how'd you like your eyes closed for good, huh?
Staring is so good.
Yeah.
I love so much love. My note on that is Laverne is immediately awesome, immediately herself. Penny immediately steals the scene. Cindy is right there with her. That was my big note on that.
Yeah, and that's right, yeah, because Cheryl's all over Richie. It's like, oh, he's nice, and a tie, too.
Yeah, not for showing or for blowing.
Yeah. Oh,
then,
boy, the implications.
Yeah. She didn't like my crude remark about your tie. About your hanky. And they beat each other up in the bathroom, which the girls will beat each other up, but not over something that's not minor. To be
Yeah,
frank.
and that was the whole thing. Was Rothman, and as he talks about the part, was he basically just said they were sort of told they wanted to do a Richie needs to get a girl and Fonzie's going to help him out with a double date and the blind date. And Rothman and Gans were the ones who came up with this idea of they're going to be these two completely wild girls that are way more than Fonzie can handle. Than Richie can handle. And we don't know enough about how long these have been going that maybe possibly that's part of the gag is that Fonzie is similarly clumsy with Cheryl to the point that like he knows that it's like need somebody a little more mellow than me to work with.
Yeah, that'd be great. That would honestly be great. These girls, the original characterization of Laverne Shirley, were based on two tough women that Gary knew when he was young in the army. He went out on a date with a tough girl who got into a brawl in the middle of one of their dates, and this stuck in his head, and that was what formed the basis of the girls.
Oh, that's amazing! I love that.
I love that. I'm actually going to look up that article real quick, and we're going to pause.
So the thing I want to make sure to mention, by the way, before we get caught up in the aftermath of the scene in Arnold's, so the gal who runs out of the doll's room saying there's two girls fighting it out in the bathroom, that's Joanie Bradford. That is Lori Walters as credited as Susan. But yeah, as I looked, in this case, I looked this up. I looked at the photos of her. I looked at photos of her now. I looked at I freeze framed, and yep, that's her.
Delightful.
But yeah, she'd already done the Sheila Grove roles in Harrod Experiment in the Harrod Summer. But soon after this, she was cast in 8 is Enough and be on that show for 4 years across 112 episodes.
Wow. It's a big one.
And
Gary can recognize talent. There you go.
Absolutely. She also popped up into 2 episodes of Duet in the 80s, which is another Happy Days Laverne and Shirley connection. She is now a director of theater in California and an active environmentalist, apparently.
Hey, go her. Good for her. That's great. Good for her. Yeah. Yes, but this is recounted in my Happy Days in Hollywood. Gary said, there are a few episodes I look back on as gold because I've changed so many actors' lives forever and were remembered by audiences as being extra special. One of these is A Date with Fonzie, where my sister and Cindy Williams first appeared as Laverne DeFazio and Shirley Feeney. Gary called Penny up one day with an invitation that she couldn't refuse. Do you want to do Happy Days? We need 2 fast girls. If Cindy wants to do it, she can play opposite Ron. They were good together in American Graffiti. You can play opposite Fonzie. That's how Gary gave him this part.
Wow.
Yeah, it's so casual.
Wow.
So completely casual. To create the characters of Laverne and Shirley, I took pieces from their Happy Days appearances, and then took material from 2 characters I had once seen in Brooklyn, Gary wrote. He goes on to describe a scene that took place in 1958 after he and some army buddies had returned from serving in Korea. They were out late night forming a nightclub. We met some girls and took them to a coffee shop at 2 a.m., Gary said. Suddenly, one of the girls said something rude to my date. My girl turned to me and said, Gary, can you hold my coat? And then my date beat up the other girl. So great.
Oh, I love yeah.
So
I mean, that's certainly a way to make an impression, but it's a very, I don't know if I would call it a good time or a weird time.
Yeah. Gary was shocked he had never seen 2 women beat each other up before until that time. It fascinated me. The toughest nails quality of Laverne and Shirley were based on that single night fight in Brooklyn, he said.
Fascinating. That's an interesting way for I've popped a boner and I don't know why.
He had a weird boner, yeah. Yeah, he had a weird boner and saying how much this was slapstick of Laverne and Shirley. You know, I think about that too. Someone must have enjoyed the mud wrestling. Someone must have enjoyed the mud. We love you, Gary, wherever you are. Salute.
Oh,
Salute,
I'm just imagining Lenny crying
Salute,
about the mud. You say you go with us to the mud wrestling.
And you want it. And you want
it.
Anyway.
So you then have them returning home to the Cunningham household for boinking.
Yep.
I also do love Laverne scaring the boys as she's on her way out of the bathroom.
Blah, blah.
And Richie, of course, having to sneak into the window. And I do love, he finds the note that is, ha ha ha, I knew you'd lock yourself out. Love, Joanie. That was great.
So sisterly. The way Ron Howard and Erin Moran managed to capture what it's like being in a sibling relationship is really great.
I mean, we both are saying, I mean, I agree. I'm just We're
Yeah.
both only children, so I find that amusing.
Yeah, we're both only children. We're both only children, but I've seen that dynamic in my friends' lives.
That's true.
So,
That's true.
So I
Yeah.
can judge from that. I've never experienced it personally, but I've seen that dynamic with other people.
Yeah.
And I think that the way they capture it is very real. It's very good, and there's a sense of joy to it.
And
Yes.
I have a note here I really want to bring up because this is where Cindy truly captures the Shirley we're going to come to know and love.
Yes.
So first, Richie is asked, "Is there anyone upstairs going to run down and call me names?" And he goes, "Oh no, there's no one up there." And Shirley goes, "Oh, are you an orphan?"
The line is so great. Oh, are you an orphan? Oh, she nails that so good. That's up there with "I'll freshen, I'll make you happy." The girls are already bottle cappers, so we're already in there, even in their photo states, they're already bottle cappers, ready to go on the line. So that's interesting in of itself. Now, obviously, the chemistry is already there between Ron Howard and Cindy Williams, which we knew from American Graffiti, but it will continue to be there.
Mm-hmm.
Shirley's total discomfort as Richie tries to get his arm around her is so great.
Yes.
I don't know if it's just that she does not want to get intimate with this kid, which is a real possibility, or if she just doesn't want to ruin her clothing, which is what she says.
It's a bit of both, and I also wonder because he is getting snagged on her and kind of grabbing at her because his cufflink is stuck in a way that's not very comfortable. But I do notice that there is like real Cheryl, the Cheryl we come to know. She has a warm up period. She's not as like immediately the thing happens and the juices start flowing. She is she's somebody that kind of takes a little while to get the motor up to speed. There's a time process for her that she likes a little courtship. She likes the snuggles. She likes the talking. She likes the getting familiar with the sound of the voice and all of that. And
she ain't no welcome wagon.
And I do love how she like think of how they go through that whole thing with the cufflink and getting her sweater off. And after he gets it, she just kind of moves in for the nuzzle, which I put in all caps, nuzzle.
Nuzzle.
And she cutely follows like a curious little kitty cat when he goes to get the beer.
Yeah, she has no idea what the heck this kid is doing, but she's very interested in his house and how it's run, so to speak. Because I guess this version of Shirley just does not have that in her life. And so she's like looking at it, trying to figure out, wow, this is suburbia. Everything's so nice and fancy. Look at the plastic on the couches. Wow. Oh, man.
All right, going through my notes here. So then, of course, we have good old-fashioned Happy Days cock blocking. The family returns home. Well, actually, first, excuse me, we cannot rush over the fact that there is. She just kind of swings for the fences when trying to describe the fight in the bathroom, and well, let's just say that Shirley misses.
Yeah. Oh, she's got that powerful right hook, and that is canon all the way through the show. But it really doesn't take it. They really don't take advantage of it enough. They really need to point out that Shirley's no cream puff more often, because man, she can knock a guy dead with that punch, and that's great. Drinks and snacks go flying everywhere. Ron Howard takes this like a champ. Happy Days had like less physical comedy this way. It was more like a rapid patter dialogue. It was more like big stunts, burning down Arnold's, or Fonzie jumps something in the parking lot, or the Malachi Crunch, or it was more like really like stunt based versus getting smacked in the kisser. And Ron Howard does it so big. It's so great.
Yep. And there go the pretzels. There goes the beer. And there comes the lips. And there's the sound of the door opening.
Richie, we're home. And then his parents get sent up.
Wait, and I do love Joanie's remark. How do you feel like that? Getting have that happen all the time?
Yeah, go Joanie. I forgot how much I like Joanie, especially early seasons. Joanie, she's so great in this show, and I forgot how fun it is to watch her be free-spiritedly sassy. I feel like the Chachi romance ruins that a little.
Oh yeah, no, it totally does. Like let's be real here. Chachi ruins everything, and that is, by the way, an opinion that I personally had before I understood who Scott Baio was as a person. That is something that just did not work for me.
It's way back when they brought Happy Days to Nick at Night. They had people vote. Do you like your Happy Days chachinated or dechachinated? Dechoshinated won by a landslide.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that was way before everybody found out what kind of guy he is, because they even had reality shows about Scott Bio before he became this guy.
Yeah,
the Twitter guy.
Persona non grata. Yeah. Have we been blocked by him on Twitter yet?
No, actually.
Weird.
He actually liked something I posted to my
Wow.
a few years ago.
God. What are you doing here, Scott? Get out of here. Anyway, it's okay. So we have, it's a nice night. What if I'm trying to remember if there was much of a tag scene for this.
There isn't. Happy Days does have tag scenes, but a lot of the tag scenes were either shot for syndication or they get excised from the DVD prints. I know this because Pete and Joe have them on their YouTube channel for each episode that they cover, and they had to get them from old syndication tapes. Yeah, there is one via this. The tag scene is not included on the DVD releases, but here it is, and it is not involve the girls. Apparently, Fonzie helped get Richie back in the house.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because I was curious if it involved them in like some sort of last little note, but so now so now our next one to cover is Football Frolics from the 3rd season of Happy Days, episode 17, written by James Ritz and directed by Jerry Paris.
Yes.
And I'm sure I'll have some facts about them coming up later in the.
Darn
wait a minute, hey, we're already in the middle of this. What am I doing?
Here's what the episode's about. Richie doggedly attempts to get Sisu a big Chicago Bears football game which will define the team's future in the playoffs. Fonzie hooks him up with tickets from Arnold if they promise to take Fonzie's nephew Spike to the game. Arnold comes up with the seats, but they need to cough up $80 to pay him off. Arnold agrees to give them until Monday to come up with the cash on pain of being locked out of the hangout for life if they fail. When Richie's attempt at manipulating his pop for his $20 share fails, they decide to get the cash the old-fashioned way, earning it by babysitting. They manage to round up a group of 15 kids, one of them found by Laverne Shirley. But the whole lot of them prove to be unmanageable. Worse yet, they won't obey the Fonz. In desperation and swearing he hates kids, Fonzie brings in Spike to tame the tots. What do you think of this one? Yeah.
It's one of, so here is the interesting thing at least I took away from this episode that I'm also going to have to say about the ones coming up as well. There are a lot of scenes and beats. When we've talked about Laverne and Shirley, that especially during the first like kind of 5 or 6 seasons, it really was like 3 or 4 scenes and that was it, and very much like a stage play. And I mentioned before how the acts were split up, or the acts being split up like a play in Laverne and Shirley, and then Happy Days already having very much a cinematic quality where we'll have these like little short moments basically, and a lot of them.
Yes.
This is an incredible example of that because, to be honest, I don't know how necessary all of these are, but they're at the same time kind of appreciated because it made me feel like I was more connected to the world of the show.
Yeah. This is just an okay episode to me. This is one of those episodes where it's just, it's alright.
Yeah.
It could be worse, it could be better.
Right. And it did not have enough of the Goyles. That I will also say.
Yeah, so the girls do, however, are more themselves here. So this is more the personalities they're going to have on the show. And also, they do a really good job of making an impression for the 2 seconds they are on the program. So we'll give them that. Yeah,
the body language is definitely much better and clearer. The outfits are there. You've got the more of the wardrobe. Feels like kind of it's finally getting kind of coming together.
Yep.
And and the hair. I think you mentioned the hair as well.
Yes. The hair is finally starting to get there. Laverne's starting to get her lion's mane pompadour going on, finally, for that she'll have all of season 1, and then it will go bye-bye by season 2, because Penny hated it. And Cindy and Shirley are beginning to look more like Cindy and Shirley. And their personalities are starting to get a little milder, a little more tame, and
Yep.
Yeah, you can see them starting to evolve.
Yeah, there wasn't a hell of a lot I even really wanted to talk about with this episode because even though
I had a couple of spots.
Yeah, I do too, but like it wasn't like a really thorough one. Go ahead.
Is that Harry Shearer being the football announcer?
That was exactly what I was going to mention. Yeah.
I knew that was Harry. I could recognize Harry at 50 paces of that voice by now. So he did a great job.
Is that Harry Shearer? No. It's the children that are wrong.
He's 30. He's got no future.
Oh, the guy's washed up. He's old. He's 30. He's got no future. Oh my gosh.
Marion being badass is always great. The show's incredible reliance on stuffing Howard into a costume continues in this episode, to the point where it actually ended up being a gag in the Mad Magazine parody of the show, which is called Crappy Days.
Oh, that's awesome.
They have a whole scene that takes place in a costume party, and they have Howard joke about how he has to bunny costume that is size 9 stout.
Oh my gosh, that's cute.
And it's like, we're constantly doing these episodes after the costumes. That was
you
funny.
won Fool's costume last year. That's enough, Marion. Then Howard getting all real men, real sports. Grr, back in my day, we actually did real men, real sports. Da da da. Yeah.
Or they wore animal skins and played in bare feet.
Yeah, that was interesting.
Oh gosh. And I love how Fonzie kind of negotiates this whole situation. Like, I'll get you the tickets. You take my nephew, etc.
Yep.
It's all, how they managed to wriggle it down, and of course Arnold understandably wants to take his cut.
Oh yeah.
I mean, he can't go, but he might as well make some kind of money off the deal.
Because I mean, he's essentially a go-between for a scalper. That's the thing.
Yep.
Yep.
He has to make some kind of profit. Good old Rumpelstiltskin. And Joanie just nailing Howard to the wall repeatedly about his clothing. His costume killed me.
Yeah, no wonder they stabbed him.
And you're starting to dress like her.
Joanie.
Joanie.
Yeah.
I really liked Howard's hatred of scalpers so very, very much.
Yeah.
So very, very much. So he was awesome in that moment. So yeah.
Yeah, it's good, and I did like the whole bit of how Richie is like, I'm gonna get my get my dad's help. It's like, here's an apple, Dad. Oh look, my son gave me an apple. What do you want, son? You got tickets to the game, Dad. Money. He wants money.
He just knows. He immediately knows. I love how they do not have Howard be a bumbling sitcom dad in that respect.
Yeah,
he just has his kids' numbers.
Tom Bosley was honestly one of my favorite faces to see on TV in general. But I have to say, I really did like Howard a lot, and I think that was one reason I grew to dislike the show over time, was that I felt sorry for the poor guy. I don't know. I had this weird empathy towards a lot of characters in this show that this kind of made me just sort of get to the point of like, hey, my favorite characters are getting treated like crap. I'm not going to watch this no more. Yeah.
I actually don't remember Howard being treated like crap in the show.
That's at least, that's how I remember it. But, I was 10. So, the fuck do I remember at this point?
You never know.
I'm saying it was 25 plus years ago.
Yeah. By the end of the show, it was difficult because we had so many different cast turnovers. So, at that point, we had very few originals left.
Yeah.
Of course, Ralph comes up with the idea of babysitting. Ralph was the idea guy a lot of this part of the show. The intelligence ball kind of passed in this show. First, it was Posse was the wise one. Then Ralph became the one with all the schemes and the scams. Then by the time we ended up with Fonzie's funeral, Fonzie had kind of ascended humanity into godhood. He snaps his fingers and the jukebox comes on. He could probably outduel an alien. He could fly over the shark and not die. So by then it was
But can Fonzie babysit 15 kids at once?
God, no. At least not at this point in canon. He probably could by the end of the show, though, especially by that episode where he ends up going to get his tonsils out and ends up getting stuck in the children's ward. And he has to make friends with all the kids. So he probably could.
Gotcha.
Probably could by then. It's the Fonz. He is the Lord and Savior of Milwaukee. Hey.
So do you think, by the way, when it comes to the chaos that is about to come with this babysitting fiasco, the girls dropping off Brooker Brown, is that the cause or just like the last straw that kind of broke the camel's back? That they were doing okay with the amount they had, but one more was too much?
Myron was probably going to cause chaos anyway.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
I think now that you mention that, I think Myron was the ticking time bomb ready to go off and set off all the other all the kerosene coming off those other kids.
Yep. Myron probably would have done something. I don't know if it would have been as extreme as it ended up being because of Booker, but Myron definitely was going to do something, even if it was just squirt Richie in the face until he broke.
Right.
So enter the girls with Booker, who is a very tiny Christophe St. John, incredibly tiny Christophe St. John.
Yes.
Very
now his father had already been in Shaft by this point.
Yes.
And also had directed Top of the Heap as well.
Yes.
But as for folks that are aware of Christophe St. John, needs no introduction because that is child Christophe St. John from from Generations and The Young and the Restless as Neil Winters.
Yep. And he was in the TV version of the Bad News Bears.
He was.
And yes, he started out as a child actor. He did a lot of roles like that. He was in Roots. He did a lot of stuff like that. He ended up in The Young and the Restless, where he was Neil Winters for like 30 years. Pretty much. He became a romantic lead. And he was, very known as a handsome soap stud in his adult years. He tragically passed away at a young age.
Mm-hmm. I think 52, heart failure.
Yes, heart failure. Yes, he died completely unexpectedly in the wake of his son dying, so it was extra.
Awful. And it looks like I think possibly his wife didn't last much longer either. I think.
Yeah. I think it was his first wife. I think he was engaged to another woman when he passed.
That's right.
I think.
But I did have an additional note of import because this is kind of interesting to see child troublemaker Booker Brown here.
Yes.
Sorry, there's two notes. First of all is that his father, the elder Christopher St. John, played the character Booker Brown in the Walking On By, which I believe that was a failed pilot, right? Or a pilot that just didn't get picked up, I think. The Gans and Rothman one. So it's just kind of interesting that there was that strange odd connection there. The second thing is that his father took him and his mom and moved, him and his stepmom, I think, and they moved off to the ashram of Saitha Sai Baba in the 70s and 80s. Now, for those that, again, are not as aware, Saitha Sai Baba or Cynthia Sai Baba, I am not a fan. He is a guru. There are some majorly serious accusations against him. And things started to kind of go wrong for Christopher St. John at this staying there and living there because he filmed a lot of footage and was going to make like a film about him or do like this, but Sai Baba wanted him to like make this thing this film that would confirm that he was the reincarnation of Jesus Christ, basically. And anyway, so finally the older St. John takes his family and they're like, fuck this, we're out. So he leaves. He has he's able to actually get the footage and sneak it out of India. 20 years later, Christophe finds his dad's footage, and the two of them, along with a colleague and friend of theirs, edited this into a documentary called A Man Called God that was released in 2014. It looks like it's a pretty harrowing tale of the cult behind it, at the very least in how someone's charisma can empower them to destructive amounts. Because, Sai Baba has a lot of pretty severe allegations against them and against members of the cult. And I would honestly say be very careful looking it up. But that good on Booker Brown for trying to shed some light that basically says, this was fucked up. So good on him for that.
Yeah.
Before I forget, we were mentioning Myron. We need to mention who plays Myron.
Yes. I believe that is Aaron Moran's brother.
That is John. Indeed.
Yes. Gary, whenever he could, used the family and the siblings of everybody involved in the production. So a lot of people's kids and a lot of people's parents all ended up showing up in the program. Rance Howard is in Happy Days at some point. Yes. And
wasn't Rance Howard was also in
Laverne Shirley? Yes.
Laverne Shirley. Yes. I was going to say he's in Who's Papa, I think.
Yes, he was. He played the kind, wise doctor who gives the wonderful speech to Shirley about how adoption does not matter.
Yep. So despite John Moran only showing up in this one episode, he actually started doing short film and indie gigs in the late aughts, which is kind of cute.
Ah.
He also showed up in The Princess Diaries, of course, no doubt because of Gary Marshall. Trivia note, by the way, before we forget, because we're not going to be able to talk a lot about Joanie and Aaron Moran. Aaron and John's brother, Tony, apparently played the adult Michael Myers in the original Halloween.
Oh, that's cool.
So when the mask comes off,
cool.
that's Tony.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
That's super cool.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Okay, so we get volume babysitting. Okay, back onto the track about the episode. I love the touch that Laverne and Shirley know this kid's going to try to sneak out the back way, and they're waiting for him at the door to the kitchen.
Yeah. That is a great, great moment. We're taking your shoes, which is uncomfortable, but also funny. And the girls are going to hang him for the rearview mirror. Then return and give it back to him, obviously.
Which also implies they have a car at this point.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we know that they did have a car because Shirley had the car and Laverne could hitch, even though they didn't have insurance.
I forgot about that.
So initially they had a car. Initially Laverne could drive. She loses this skill conveniently for her own program. So, yeah. Anti-maternal Laverne wants to dump this kid at a bus terminal.
Yep.
Locks don't cost as much. I don't like your jokes. Yes, you do. Two big spenders. Ignore the hors d'oeuvres. How about October? All good stuff.
God.
And then
the October line fucking killed me.
For me, what really got me was Richie asks Laverne how she is, and she goes, lousy. Which is somehow very Laverne and very not Laverne, but something Laverne would absolutely say that. So
yeah. Sort of like it's something she would think or she would blurt out, but not necessarily always say all the time, no matter how she felt. Yeah. I hear what you're saying.
Yeah. Do you believe that Booker Brown could be president?
Yes.
Yes, me too. He would be a better shepherd of our country than many of the presidents we have had so far.
Well, given his age, he would have been around to probably keep George Bush Sr. From taking that. Maybe we wouldn't have ended up in Desert Storm, or at the very least, Reaganomics would have gotten kiboshed a lot faster.
Maybe he would have finished. Maybe he would have followed Barack Obama in the office. That would have been fun.
Yeah, it could be fun. That'd be good. Or followed up Clinton.
Hey, there you go.
I'm just trying to keep the Bushes out of office, okay?
No Bush in office. No Bush. Wow, that kind of Bush. Anyway.
Yeah, that was gonna. I was actually gonna make the joke about how that this is why I make sure to have a pair of clippers with me whenever I go to the White House.
Oh.
Thank you.
Anyway. Yes.
Yeah.
Fonzie is up. The kids go into chaos mode. Aaron Moran's brother is squirting everybody with milk-filled water pistols. Kids are falling into vases. It's pure chaos. Fonzie is upstairs trying to get laid from a girl whose name he can't remember.
And who was probably a little too young for him.
Yeah. I didn't want to mention that. Also, she smartly is holding it against him. He can't remember her name.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Good for her.
Oh, yeah.
Good for her for having a spot.
It's like, yeah, no. It's like you get a syllable, maybe a button goes off. That's it, buddy.
Yeah. So I forget your name. He just struggles with it on and off the whole time until finally it pops into his head before he goes.
Jennifer. That's a name.
Jennifer. That's a name. She probably, by the way, has probably left the apartment and hitched home just to get away from this creep.
Yeah, good for her. She probably, I don't know, maybe Laverne and Shirley picked her up and they all go out for a girls' night.
Hey, I'd like to see that episode. That'd be fun. Somebody get that kid out of that vase. I can't. He's stuck.
I just realized we never got a Laverne and Shirley pick up a hitchhiker episode in California in the 60s.
Amazingly not. Oh, God, that would have been probably like, that could have gone to bad places, I'm guessing.
Sure, I mean, but that being said, I mean, that also could have gone to Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Carmine beats the shit out of the Manson family territory.
Hey, that would be fun. I would pay money to see that.
I'd pay money to see that.
Hey, I bought it for $1.
But, anyway, so,
yeah. Quentin Tarantino does do one thing right, and he does know how to portray the retribution of revenge on the wicked very well. Mm-hmm. That's one of the things he does well. That's simple.
Although admittedly he has had to learn from the masters in some respects, but
yes.
but
Yeah.
moving on. So the gal is that, you know, and that whole interruption and the noise and everything, and the guys essentially creating a situation beyond their control.
Yeah.
I realize now, you know, Joanie was right, you know, which is true. Joanie is often right, except when it comes to Chachi.
Yeah. Yeah. Most of the time she's correct, and then sometimes she's very, very wrong.
Well, you know what it comes down to is, like, you know, Joanie loves Chachi. It's like, who wrote this crap? It's like what we've been saying about, you know, what fucking AI wrote this article that says AI is actually going to save the world.
Oh God, man.
Anyway, sorry. Let's not tangent. Sorry.
Yes. So Fonzie comes in. He thinks he's going to do this. He thinks he's gotten in with Booker Brown because they are friends from the neighborhood, which makes sense because if the girls know him, of course Fonzie would know him because they all grew up in the same neighborhood at one point. So that makes sense. The way Henry Winkler delivers the line "Myron" is great. Myron. He's so done with this kid. Oh, he just hates this kid. And the kid cannot give two shits. He just squirts him right in the face. Yep. He is just not falling under the Fonzie spell. I love it whenever characters don't fall under the Fonzie spell. That always pleases me.
It is kind of special, isn't it?
Yeah. I like when they have to work harder. I like when he has to work harder for their approval.
I mean, it's kind of like it's not fun to watch a kung fu movie where the hero can take every dude out with one punch. It's more fun to watch them take on 2 or 3 opponents, and they have to work for it.
Yeah. Yeah, he needs to have his charisma nerfed a little. Just a bit.
But yeah.
I love that Fonzie says that his intimidation tactics work on the premise that the ever-present fear that he might punch.
Mm-hmm.
And then everybody goes, "Oh yeah, well, I guess that's what it is." And of course, he can't. He won't punch. He won't punch kids, obviously. Yep. And ABC's smart enough not to have him punch kids because we haven't hit the slap yet. That's decades away.
Oh God. Or the SNL parody
of it. The slap.
Was that SNL or was that Funny or Die that did the parody?
I think it was Funny or Die. It was Funny or Die. It was Funny or Die.
So enter Spike, the kid who could beat up other kids without getting into trouble. Well, that's certainly a choice, okay?
Yeah.
Hey.
Yeah, and then Spike demonstrates on the teenagers why it's bad to do all these things.
Right.
And so the guys get their money. The kids go home all in one piece, ultimately. And we get to contemplate the notion of Fonzie as a father. And that actually becomes canon later in the show, which is interesting in of itself.
There's no... yeah. And then he gets to say, there's nobody like me. And it's like, yeah, there is.
Nobody like
there is.
Yeah.
There is, though. Okay. So I guess...
Who's like Fonzie? Who's like Fonzie?
Many folks that are just another nameless greaser that's cool enough to get on by, but deep down inside is a hollow husk of a human.
I wouldn't say it's that bad. He's got kind of a soft marshmallow heart, though there's some episodes where, ooh.
And then also, well, that's the other thing. There's also the greaser with a heart of gold. There's also plenty of those around that have existed through time.
Yeah, I like those. Yes.
So I wanted to quickly, before we jump to the next episode, discuss that, yes, this is one of the 4 appearances of Danny Butch as Spike. His time as a child actor pretty much fizzled out as the 80s took over and he fell out of screen acting.
Yeah.
The episode was written by James Ritz. This was his 3rd of 5 episodes he's credited for on Happy Days. He also worked on The Jeffersons, Good Times, and Holmes and Yo-Yo around this time. Yes. After this, he drops by Three's Company and The Love Boat, of course. His last gig was on The New Gidget in 1986.
And The Gidget.
In addition to his writing credits, he also was reportedly the music producer for the Elvis vocal tracks on the John Carpenter Elvis TV movie.
Well, interesting. That's fascinating. I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's very strange. He also worked on a Bob and Carol 10 and Alice episode.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's super awesome.
All right, so Fonzie the Superstar. This is another late season 3 episode of Happy Days, written by Arthur Silver and Bay Rabinowitz, and once again directed by Jerry Paris, the man who decided not to raise the bridge, but to lower the river.
River deep, mountain high.
Yeah, so you have the synopsis for this one, right?
Yes. It's nearly time for senior dance at Jefferson High, and Richie and the gang are desperate. Fonzie has a prior commitment involving his rich uncle, and there's no one on hand to head up the band for the party at Arnold's. Realizing he can tap into Fonzie's Elvis-like popularity with the ladies, Ralph tries to talk Fonzie into appearing as their singer. Fonzie says yes, but refuses to do much rehearsal, believing that he ought to just be naturally fantastic at the skill. While he initially seems confident, the most un-Fonz-like malady sets in, stage fright. Making his appearance at the gig questionable. Can backup singers Laverne Shirley help? And will Richie be able to talk his best friend into appearing, or will Fonzie be the one thing you would swear he would never be, a chicken? What'd you think of this one?
Fuck you, Ralph Mouth, for spoiling movies. Fuck you and your spoiler dumbass. Dumbest motherfucker that ever lived.
You hate him so much, he's one of my favorites. It's great.
When you're spoiling Psycho. That is, I can't believe Darth Vader is Luke's dad. Homer Simpson walking out of Empire Strikes Back level.
Thinking about Homer doing that.
That is, how fucking dare you? And then what is it? They mentioned another movie.
Mr. Roberts.
Oh God, that's right. Oh my God. Oh, Double Indemnity.
Yeah.
Baseballs Double Indemnity.
Yeah. And then Howard's like, we're gonna go on a drive. Hey Ralph, you didn't see that one come first. This episode, by the way, aired directly before the debut of the Society Party, which is Laverne Shirley's first episode.
Yep, and kind of explains why the gals, when they do show up in this episode, have their season 1 wardrobe on them.
Yes, indeed. So we are setting up a consistency here and a pattern here, and the girls pretty much are the people they are going to be in the show at this point. So yeah.
Also, we have a lone, a Wild Pinky Tescadero reference.
Yes! I think we are post Fonzie Loves Pinky, so I think they were trying to keep it alive, this notion. Mm-hmm. The two of them were still seeing each other and dating, which I wish they had just gone with and pulled the trigger on, even though apparently Roz did not make herself welcome on the set, and that resulted in the characters not ending up getting married like what the original plan was. Which is a shame. The characters are great for each other. But I think at that point, Gary was trying to avoid further headaches and further drama. Because, man, at this point, it was like, no snarkiness, no. Get away from me.
But it was very cute that he was going to go to the the Pouty Puff Derby. And it's like, the Pouty Puff Derby, it's for girls. It's for guys too. Yeah.
I believe it's for guys too.
He's the biggest fan.
Yeah.
But anyway, so there comes the problem. Uncle Wilbur wants to go to the alma mater, Notre Dame.
Yep. Smartly, Potsy's keeping his mind on his money because he's probably got a big fat inheritance coming from this dude.
Oh, yeah.
Perhaps.
Sure. Yep.
Yep. So, but I love that they know he is going to back out, probably out of nerves, from even doing anything. So they were just braced for it.
Yep. Yeah, even Styx here, who appears in a few episodes.
Yes.
We'll get to his backstory later, because that one has a fuck of a bombshell in there.
Oh, intriguing.
Yeah, that was a surprise. But anyway, sorry. I do love Arnold's remark, though, that he gave them in advance. And it's like, come on, Arnold, have we ever let you down? Yeah, no, because I'm not dumb enough to give you the chance to.
And then, of course, Ralph starts spoiling stuff, and you get infuriated.
Yep. And then Arnold's going to get another band, but Ralphie to the rescue. He got a new singer. What's going to happen? Who could it be?
I love that poor Arnold is on the phone trying to get a new act. No, I don't want to have Irvin in the inner tubes.
Yeah, Bob Dylan, never heard of him. You got me big singer. And then Ralph decides to volunteer Fonzie for the role, despite the fact that Fonzie hasn't agreed to it.
Yep. Which is very Ralph and very over-enthusiastic Ralph work here. My not Fonzie, Lord, he's like an aphrodisiac. He's like a human sex pollen
Yeah.
guy.
Yeah.
Oh god. No one touches the Fonzie's mouth apparently, but Fonzie is willing to do this because he thinks he's going to be great at it automatically, and he's not great at it automatically. He freezes up. I think that is supposed to stand as a lesson for the kids that sometimes you need to practice at something and do it more than once to be good at it.
Yeah, I think that's the whole like family message because
Yeah.
the Fonz seems so seamlessly cool, but he works at it.
Yeah, yeah. He has to work at being good as a singer, and this is a skill that doesn't come to him naturally. So, I like that.
And I love the so that's why he brings in Laverne and Shirley. They're important to my image. They add to my mystique.
Women loom large in my mystique, which is really a really amazing line. They don't even serve beer there.
Yeah, it's a classy
really
place.
great.
They don't even sell beer there.
That's so great. Shirley's adorable here. Very early Shirley.
Yeah, no, Shirley, Cindy's finally really started getting Shirley at this point. She's starting to get there.
Yep. It's finally starting to make actual sense for her. It's just starting to actually work. It's really great. I love that Laverne immediately is going to try to get a date out of this.
Oh, of course.
Where are we going to go? He needs to shut up at what he replies with, but that's my girl.
Yeah.
That's my girl. Where are we going to go? What are we going to do? You're going to set in cement, jerk.
Yeah, definitely. Well, at the very least, Penny gets Henry back, because as soon as they start singing the backup for him, I think they broke Henry.
A little tiny bit. I love the part, but that's actually a boon to him, because he needs to stand there and freeze and look panicked. So it kind of muffles the giggle and tries to kind of build up off of that. It's really great. It really works really well. And as a form of eye-boggling confusion and fear that he cannot get these words out.
Yeah, it's the deer in headlights thing.
Yes.
But I do love this exchange of I was the one in the glee club.
Oh yeah, you are a mouther.
Oh God.
You're flat.
And then of course we dissolve just quickly to the big show, thinking, oh gosh, how's this gonna turn out?
Yep. I love that Fonzie's nervousness is very, very, very credibly portrayed by Henry Winkler. Henry is really good. Henry Winkler is like really a seriously trained actor who did Broadway for Happy Days. He's deservedly won multiple Emmys at this point. He's probably going to win another one for Barry. The way he can kind of gentle his voice and seem smaller and quieter, as Fonzie is clearly completely nervous about the situation, how many people are out there. He didn't know that Arnold's could pack that many people in. He's like,
Yeah, see, I put a loudspeaker in the parking lot to handle the overflow. They came to see you, Fonzie.
Yep. Cue for their meltdown. Then, you girls eat late. Poor. Poor them.
Yeah, but Laverne and Shirley are delightful, though, on their dresses. Yes, they look so good.
Yeah, I sense that they are, at very minimum, are going to go to the pizza bowl after this to get food.
Yeah, totally.
Yep. Richie is taking no crap. Absolutely zero crap from Fonzie. I'm just going to tell everybody he's chicken and just move on, even though the audience does not want them to move on.
Yep.
And then, I'm not chicken. I'm shy. It's a really great delivery.
Not chicken. It's very good. But then you have the... Richie, I did like, though, as much as he wants to ruin Fonz, he can't. He slipped in the bathroom and hit his head on the sink.
Yeah.
And there goes my Friday night. Oh, Laverne. Oh, no, that's right. And then it's like, well, we could do the Al Jolson routine. Oh, but I didn't bring my blackface.
Oh, why? No.
See, there we go, Ralph doing blackface.
Yeah.
Smack.
Yeah, I forgot how much you hate him.
So, I mean, I already hated him before, and now I just want him dead.
Oh.
Like, I wonder how much I could pay Jake the Snake to take care of him.
It probably wouldn't take very much money, because God, Potsy and Ralph seem very easy to kill off of every character on the show.
Actually, probably what's been happening is somebody's been paying a hitman to keep them alive.
Right, possibly. Might be Fonzie's magic at work.
Could be. Anyway, so Straight from the kitchen, very own Arnold, and from the bottle capping at Shots Brewery, Arnold and the Arnoldettes, the light of the silvery moon.
Silvery moon. And there he is in his Elvis jumpsuit.
Yeah, this Elvis meets Knievel mashup jumpsuit, I felt like. The one, the only, the quick healing, the Fonz. The whole idea that his charisma is so strong he's able to do spoken word and it works anyway, I think is kind of lovely.
Yeah. The girls sound great and they look great at least.
It's very cute.
Isn't that much? And it all works out, and then they rip his clothing off.
Yeah. Well, there were no survivors in the Great Fonzarelli Massacre when Richard Cunningham posed as Arthur Fonzarelli.
I love that he just puts his motorcycle helmet on his head. If that's enough to get the girls to scream, he's like, whoa. That's how they decoy him out for the day. And then Fonzie almost dies again, is my notes. This is a fine one.
But yeah, it's fine.
Yeah.
It's a fun little episode. It's a little cleaner than some of the other ones we've covered here for Happy Days related stuff. I wonder if that partly has to do with the fact that it's an Arthur Silver, Barry Rabinowitz joint.
Possibly.
But I mean, at this point, Arthur Silver was a consistent staple of Marshallverse shows at the beginning of his career, and he had 7 other Happy Days scripts to his name, and so I wonder if like that and doing Blancy's Beauties, created Blancy's Beauties specifically, working on a bunch of season 1 and 2 Laverne Shirley's, like it's just kind of the sign that he sort of had like a cleaner structure, whereas like the football Frolics was just so all over the place. This is much more like directed in a single path.
Yeah.
Because like he ends up, kind of staying focused on sitcoms, like including, I cannot believe this, but Arthur Silver, the guy who co-wrote this episode, is the guy who gave us Unhappily Ever After.
Oh man, that freaking show, man. God, now I wonder what happened to half the cast in that show.
Somebody else needs to make a podcast about that, because I sure as hell ain't doing it.
There you go. God, memories of that show. Jesus, my youth.
But yeah, but we've talked a bunch about Barry Rabinowitz. He did multiple episodes of Happy Days as well. He kind of goes back to the Laverne Shirley writers' room for the Tumultuous 4th season, and actually helped introduce us to Chuck in season 8. But yeah, he was also like on Busting Loose and gets an episode of the thing here and there. He kind of like slowed down as the 80s and 90s, sort of go on. But again, this is a dude that like really kind of had a sharp wit, and like when we've seen both of these guys do their own solo episodes, it comes together. So I really like this one generally. Also, shout out to Barry Rabinowitz. As we're recording, he is currently on the picket line of the WGA strike. Way to go, Barry.
Yes, one of several members of the Laverne Shirley writing staff who was on the picket lines, and Cindy Beagle's out there. I know that Michael McKean and Annette O'Toole were just protesting today, but at one of the lots. Yeah. We got a lot of writers and crew members out there protesting in the name of the unions.
Very good.
Yeah, good everybody.
Also, quick note: speaking of cast members on this show and this episode, Debbie Chaffin and Kit McDonough reappear in this episode as audience members, as in the when the crowd comes in to watch the show. I also have wild trivia about the gal putting up decorations. So, there's that bit at the dance at the beginning. Fonzie goes by and harasses the girl on the ladder and goes, "Whoa, those are decorations." So the character is named Patty Petrolunga because they tried to give names, I think, to these characters so that they could get them credits. So that is Jillian Kessner. Yes. Along with getting harassed by Fonzie in this episode, she was in a later season 4 episode of Happy Days as well. But she did the usual TV. SWAT, Barnaby Jones, The Blue Knight, hits up the Grindhouse circuit with The Student Body, Star Hops, which is a Barbara Peters comedy. And then she lands herself in Sirio Santiago's Firecracker as the lead. She also, her partner, Gary Graver, was a cinematographer on a lot of sleazeploitation Grindhouse flicks, and she actually ended up starring in quite a few of them, including Trick or Treats, Raw Force, which looks absolutely bonkers, Evil Town, Beverly Hills Vamp, Jaded. She worked with like Fred Olen Ray, and she even became a stage manager and production coordinator.
Oh, that's cool. Did you mean Paula Palunga? Because that's the one of Fonzie Squeeze's names who's regularly on.
The IMDb credited her as Patty Petrolunga.
I wonder if related to Paula. Anyway, okay, yeah.
So I mentioned that we were going to talk about Styx, the drummer. This is one of the wildest stories behind the scenes of a Marshallverse show I've ever seen.
Go for it.
So starts out as a featured extra and dancer in the 60s. He ends up in a couple of Happy Days episodes, including this one.
Yes.
He then gets the big break of Wonderbug, the Croft Super Show segment. He does voices for Plastic Man, 1979. Okay, no big deal. Pretty typical.
Yeah.
Then the 80s hit, and he becomes a porn star.
Oh my!
Like, he becomes ridiculously active in X-rated films, including writing and directing a few, until he unfortunately tragically dies early at the age of 47 from cancer in 1994.
That's too bad. That's too bad. I had no idea he got into the porn industry. That's fascinating. I think
very fascinating.
That's one of very few sitcom actors I can think who made it into porn. Well, right now, the girl who was on Boy Meets World is doing porn.
Oh wow.
Maitland Ward. Maitland Ward's doing porn. Yes, Maitland Ward. I want to emphasize this her, not anybody else. Yeah. It's interesting. It's fascinating to me where you transfer out of a mainstream career into this kind of stuff.
Yeah, it is. It is a trip.
Before we dig into Fonzie's funeral, I wanted to make a brief mention of Joanie's weird boyfriend, in which Carmine appears.
Yes.
It's very brief. It's a very brief appearance in an episode which has amazing amounts of face-palming sections.
Yeah, that was kind of terrible.
Yeah. Written by Bob Brunner, directed by Jerry Paris. Ironically, this episode doesn't involve Joanie getting a boyfriend. Carmine provides backup when Joanie decides to pledge into the tough Red Devils gang. Fonzie and Richie ride to the rescue when Carmine and those in tow. When they learn that initiation in the club involves necking with every single member of the gang.
Yeah, necking in quotation marks.
Yeah, necking, quote unquote necking. You've seen this one recently than me, so. Did you just want to say sex is terrible? And move on.
Boring. Waste of potential because even because it's an after-school Special 11 episode. It's a whole kids don't join gangs episode. Yeah,
Happy Days had a lot of those.
There is not enough stakes. The fight scene is boring. Carmine's underused and poorly used, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And the characters are idiots. Joanie is way smarter than that. She would be the person questioning everything at every turn.
Yeah.
Whether she wants to belong in there or not. It just was. It felt like this is a dumb fuck episode. Yeah.
My favorite part is really corny and really stupid, but it is when Carmine sings "They'll never go from rags to riches." It's so stupid, but it feels just self-referential enough to make me laugh.
It's worthy of a giggle because it's certainly a way to make a wrestler entrance.
Yeah.
But
it's better than him coming into Fonzie's funeral tap dancing.
Yeah, we're getting there. We're getting there.
God, the way they always had Eddie Mecca, the most inappropriate use I could think of in which they did a joke like that, besides Fonzie's funeral, is when they had him as Joey DeLuca enter a courtroom where a child custody battle is going on and had him do backflips. It's like, what?
Sorry, what?
That's Blancy's Beauties. That happens in an episode of Blancy's Beauties. I promise you this is real life.
Oh my god.
I promise you this happens.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I think that is arguably a worse use of Eddie's talents than him coming into the room tap dancing.
Sure.
But we have arrived at the last crossover appearance of the gang upon Happy Days, except for Shotgun Wedding, which we already did as an episode. You guys can go listen to that in the comments of this episode. I'm sure Chris is going to link this. And our Bachelor Mothers and our Bachelor Party and our Society Party pods. And then, excuse me, may I cut in? All the ones that feature the crossover episodes on Laverne Shirley where the Happy Days folks cross over that we covered.
Yep.
So
yeah, it's basically it's just going to be a giant Mexican standoff of all those pods in the description below. Just go ahead and take a look. And place your bets, everybody. Place your bets.
Okay. this is Fonzie's funeral. Parts 1 and parts 2. Part 1 was written by Michael Lohman and directed by Jerry Paris. Part 2 was written by Gary Marshall and Michael Lohman and directed by Jerry Paris. And Jerry Paris does some great, really bravo work, which we mentioned earlier in this podcast, in this episode, when it comes to scenes and wide scoping scenes and what he does, and the set pieces.
Yeah, just
stunt work.
Stunt work and staging and working with talent and working with all of this. And holy shit, there was a lot of fucking guest actors I had to list for this fucking thing.
Hey.
Nice. I had fun. It's like, God, this is giving me season 8 flashbacks, and I don't like it.
Season 8 was worse in that it is not. This isn't a terrible episode.
This is true. This has got a film noir plot that actually is competently handled. You got a Hardy Boys Scooby Doo angle going on. You got Richard Mall and Gino Conforti. And you've got the Candyman.
The Candyman. That's a great villain name. Great villain name. Great idea. Here's what the episode's about. While fixing a hearse for a funeral home, Fonzie accidentally comes across a stash of cash in a casket hidden in the back of the car. It's counterfeit money, and while he'd heard that the funeral home was a front for mafia activity, he now knows it and is thus an accessory to the crime. He plans on sneaking the hearse back in the funeral home without tipping the owners off that he knows anything about what's in it. Unfortunately, his late arrival on the night of the delivery causes Richie, Potsy, and Ralph to panic and seek out Fonzie at the funeral home. It turns out that Fonzie is late because he went to the police about the money after delivering the car. But by the time the gang finds out where he is, it's too late. Potsy and Ralph have been taken hostage by the Candyman and his 2 goons. While seeking out Fonzie for help, Richie beelines to Bronco's garage and is horrified when it blows up before his very eyes. Fortunately, Fonzie survives the blast, but the guys spark a brilliant idea to life to rescue Potsy and Ralph. Pretend Fonzie died in the explosion. Will they get their friends out of trouble? Will the Candyman go to jail? Will Laverne flash everyone at Fonzie's funeral? What do you think of this one?
Pretty good.
Yeah.
That was pretty good.
Yeah.
It was, it's another one that it wasn't until certain bits and pieces I realized I had probably seen parts of this, but like either dozed off or got distracted and had other stuff going. Like, I realized, this movie I want to watch is on cable instead, so I'm going to watch that. Because around the time I stopped watching Happy Days was when I started, getting old enough to be sort of allowed to, tune into stuff at like 8 o'clock and see what was on HBO and stuff.
Yeah.
And also part of what it was, I mean, as much as that seems like, danger waiting to happen, this is a case of also was like, this was my education. This is where I watched They Live for the first time. Okay. So.
Yeah. Cable television could definitely be an education for filmmakers everywhere.
Absolutely. Oh yeah. Discovering heavy metal at 2 a.m. when I couldn't sleep in the middle of the summer was awesome.
Yeah. For me, it was Porky's.
I mean, I did see that. I saw that later actually, because I think there was a long period they didn't play it often. Anyway, but yeah. So this episode I've seen. I've liked it. It has some fantastic guest actors. There's some great little bits in dialogue. Characters are all pretty likable. I felt that some of the gags went a little long. And I feel like the funeral was kind of, because of the fact it takes so long to get to it, it's almost sort of like they aren't able to like actually fill it out with a bunch of great gags and jokes. Yeah. But they still are able to get Blossom, Officer Kirk, the Laverne and Shirley cast. There's some really good little moments. So, I think of this batch, this is the one I had the most fun with.
This is up there for me. I like this the most. I like Fonzie Superstar. I like Football Frolics. The whole batch, and Date with Fonzie is mostly recommendable because the girls are in it and I enjoy it for that. But yeah, this is a really, really great, really, really well layered multi-part episode. And this point in the lifespan of both Laverne Shirley and Happy Days, there were a lot of multi-part episodes going on.
Oh yeah.
By now, Happy Days had done the 3-parter Hollywood episode, the shark jumping. By now, I think they had done Westward Ho, where they head out to the west, and Fonzie rides a bull.
Mm-hmm.
So this is another good example of one of their 2-parters that feels really, really epic in scope, and actually filled with high stakes and adventure. Laverne and Shirley, of course, got to do this more as they would go on. I think which is season?
I'm looking up now. Actually, we're past the cruise.
Yes.
We're actually really getting to about the point of the festival's already happened, so we're actually gearing up toward Shotgun Wedding is going to be kind of overlapping in the middle of this.
Interesting.
Because Shotgun Wedding airs September 1979, and Happy Days season 6 ends May 15th, 1979. So bada bing.
Bada bing, bada boom. That's interesting. I didn't think we were that deep in the Laverne Shirley canon, so to speak. I thought we were at least around season 4, but turns out we're not.
Yeah, we're sort of there. Yeah, we're kind of about we're at least after the festival and the cruise for sure.
Okay, that's interesting to me.
But anywho, so it's again this kind of has the feeling that's a little more structurally sound, and I think that a lot of that comes from the fact that, as we've discussed, that the writing situation on Happy Days was a little less chaotic.
Yes.
So it feels like, even though I feel like they've sort of expanded certain elements perhaps a little too far, so it kind of undercuts a few others, there's a good break. There's a great cliffhanger to this episode that comes in. Yeah,
there is a sense of dramatic scope. Like I said before, it's really, really well done. There's a sense of stakes and danger. We start out very lighthearted with Fonzie snapping the jukebox on and off over the phone, in spite of the fact that he is in danger and he knows it. And how Richie comes when he asks him to.
That was really cute.
Which is very, very sweet. And they try to puzzle out, even though Richie has eaten his donut, they try to puzzle out what that to do. And, of course, Fonzie actually, at this point, trusts Richie enough and when he's in this kind of extreme danger, to ask for advice and ask for his help, which is very nice.
Yep.
And then ultimately they end up doing what the logical thing to do is just to sneak that car back and pretend you saw nothing.
Right.
Just return the limo. You saw nothing, you smelled nothing, you did nothing.
Yes.
And so
Fonzie, they still suffer the wrath of the tall man dealing with it anyway, but what are you gonna do? Silver spears are everywhere, kids.
Yeah. Oh, Angus. Oh, Angus. So they try to do the right. So he tries to do the right thing here. Tries to do the smart thing here. So it's that friendship that ultimately drags Richie into danger here, and everybody else into danger because he thinks that Fonzie has been kidnapped by the mob. He has not been kidnapped by the mob yet, but unfortunately he's going to be stuck paying the price for being that one innocent thought, that one friendly thought. He's gonna pay for it real hard, and everybody's gonna pay for it real hard. So Richie and the gang sneak off to the funeral home. They sneak in. The bits of the coffins are a lot of fun.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, that's the kind of morbid, dorky humor that you would get in the various Laverne Shirley episodes that have involved death and funerals. Like you get that in Baby Show. You get that in The Mortician.
Mm-hmm.
You get all this little death jokes that actually manage to work. So the three of them are lying in a casket, staring at the ceiling, and it's
very cute.
It's ridiculous. It's wonderfully ridiculous. I love that this episode just gives into its Scooby-Doo-ness almost immediately with its hidden walls.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
And its secret passageways. And
I mean, as I even pointed out, just to add on to that, is that I realized that although it's very much they're dressed in the style of the times, as I'm sure Peter will be happy to let us know. But I will say, this is the most Hardy Boys I've ever seen their color palette.
Yes. They're very Venture Brothers, too. Everyone's very Venture Brothers in this episode.
Man, now I just want Brock to come in and smash everything. Anyway.
Stabby stab. Anyway, so Richie manages to sneak out to warn Fonzie successfully. Ruff and Potsy get caught. They end up stuck there with Gino Conforti and Richard Mall and the Candyman, and prepared to be plugged forever.
Mm-hmm.
And so Richie escapes, and there's some great night driving scenes I just really thought that was really cool.
Yeah, no, I really appreciated that. There was some good B-roll. I mean, obvious B-roll, someone else driving the motorcycle.
Yep.
In the race against time, but no, I really thought that was good.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
we get a decent explosion. You know, it's a decent explosion. I mean, obviously the facade falls down, but it's like it sells the gag. You know, it's like how some of the shell casings in my first feature film don't have primers in them, because that was taken out as a safety measure by the gunsmith that we had them customized for us from. But yeah.
That's neat.
Yeah,
So,
basically powder and primer so that there's nothing explosive, so that even if there was powder
really
residue,
cool.
it can't even be ignited, essentially.
That's really cool.
But anyway, tonight, the rest of our story after the long recap, and you know, I love we get that 70s zoom in on Richie's face. You know, he's yelling Fonzie at the burning building. I do love that it turns out Fonzie survived because he was hiding behind his address book.
Yeah, his little black book saved his life.
Yeah, and the what they end up explaining that later is that it's what is it, a 6 foot tall filing cabinet?
Yeah. There's a 6 foot tall filing cabinet filled with. Wasn't there a joke that those just the A's and the M's or something like that? Is that the joke?
Something like that.
Yes,
right. I think there's a follow up there. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. I remember that coming up. That's great. So Fonzie's life is saved, and Fonzie and Richie put their heads together and try to think of a way to get out of this. And they figured that making it seem as if Fonzie is actually dead might get them a little headway so they can sneak in and get into the funeral parlor, A, and B, get out Potsy and get out Ralph. So,
yeah, because they've now been caught. They're now hidden away. They're being interrogated brutally by Sticky and Sticky is Conforti's character. Sticky and Eugene.
Eugene. Yes. It's exactly Eugene. And so they are frightened for their lives. And there is more Scooby-Dooage as time goes on, as they sit on things and all of a sudden the door opens and walls open. So they stage Fonzie's funeral. They have no body, so they put his boots there. And Fonzie poses as his own mother.
That was something. I mentioned that to my friend Vanessa, and she goes, you know, after you've told me everything about season 8, yeah, I can see that happening.
Yeah, the widow Fonzarelli. The ironic thing is that we get several episodes about how Fonzie doesn't know who his mom is. And he hasn't spoken to his dad in like decades, and there's a lot of poignant stuff that happens.
Oh, geez.
Surrounding that deeper in the show. Yeah.
Wow. Man, him and Lenny have some things to talk about that.
Yeah, ultimately they do. So, of course, we end up sitting there watching this parade of guests come in. All various people from Fonzie. Amazingly, the casket does not get stampeded by thousands of women at the same time. And the boots don't get ripped to shreds.
Yeah.
Instead is in spite of what Laverne does, a very nicely sedate funeral. And we get a bunch of visitors and people, sit down. And the only people who are in the secret are the Cunninghams and Richie and Voss.
Which I love that Marion does not want to let the good funeral go to waste, and she just milks it for all it's worth.
Yeah. Well, in previous episodes, she was doing acting because she was doing community theater. So of course she knows how to do it.
I do remember. Yeah. Okay, yeah. Now that you mentioned that, suddenly came flushing back. Okay.
Yeah. So she's got
rushing back, not flushing
back.
Yeah.
Yeah, she did a Shakespearean play with Fonzie at one point. That was one of the turning points that endeared Fonzie close to the Cunninghams in general, versus being outside in Richie's orbit. So yeah.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah. That I forget to tell the episode, but yes. That's the beginning. That was the beginning of the relationship. So Marion uses those acting skills and milks the hell out of it, crying and sobbing over the empty casket with Fonzie's boots standing there.
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
They look so peaceful, and the music is so fitting. All of Fonzie's favorite songs. And then they have Arnold show up for a cameo as well, because Arnold had left already. He'd given the place to Al by this point.
Yep. It was Al's, and Al Marino was running the place. And Pat Morita had already gone on to do Mr. T and Tina, which didn't work out. Then he got moved to Blansky's Beauties. That didn't work out.
Oh, poor man.
Yeah. Gary, everybody loved him, and everybody and the cast adored him. So they were trying to find a space for him in the Marshallverse. and he just kept enduring bomb after bomb in his loyalty to Gary.
Gee,
I know.
maybe they should have just let him develop his own goddamn show, because given that dude's life and intelligence, they could have done something way more interesting.
Exactly.
Like, get him,
Exactly.
have him and James Shigeta as a couple of expats, road tripping around California and the East and the West Coast.
See? Instead, he had to wait like 4 years for Mr. Miyagi to happen to him.
Yep.
And ultimately, he still made some lifelong friends within the cast. He and Marion Ross were very close when his house was destroyed in a mudslide. She was the first person to come over from the cast to offer him shelter and food and and clothing after that happened to him.
Yep.
So they were always very close. That's very sweet. But yeah, Pat was always willing to come over and reappear. And I believe that at one point, Arnold does come back and take over because Al gets written out for a while to go be on Jonah Loves Chachi.
Oh, that's right. Yes, I've heard about this. Yes.
Yes. So there was a lot of ping-ponging cast situations. Somehow Happy Days managed to survive all of that, even though it's arguably the worst show after we lose Richie. So.
Yeah, agreed. Anyway, here's the pigs.
Yeah, the pigs. And there's the old Kirk just milking it as well and just enjoying this a little bit.
Yeah, good old Peck. Yeah. I love that the actor's name is Peck, Ed Peck.
Yes, Ed Peck.
We have mentioned him before on our Laverne and Shirley pods, but it was great to finally see him in his element.
Yes, that's good old.
That dude was a character actor with a capital C. Went all the way back to the 50s TV era,
which is
in like the old Playhouse style anthology projects, 1950. And he also was Major Del Conway of the Flying Tigers. But yeah, we in the Marshallverse also know him as the Packers fan in Airport 59, the season 3 opener for Laverne and Shirley.
Packers!
In the 80s, he slows down as his age caught up with him, but he actually continues playing the Happy Days Kirk role until the 10th season. And he also was a voice in The Last Unicorn.
Cool. It's super cool.
And also, we mentioned Lansing's Beauties. We can't let Blossom pass us by, because that is Shirley Kirk's again.
Oh.
Come to pay her respects. We covered her extensively during her time on Blansky Remembers Laverne, and as well the Duke of Squigman episode of Laverne and Shirley. I did want to mention something, though. This was kind of cool. I found out she is still continuing, apparently, as a theatrical choreographer for dance, even up to this up to today, amazing. For like musicals and like. I mean, it's down to like community theater type stuff, but it's a case of where she ain't stopping, which I say fantastic. So I noticed that Linda Goodfriend is credited for this episode as Lori Beth. I didn't see her. Was she in the background and I just missed it? Okay.
Yeah, I'm 90% sure that she is not in any of the scenes.
Okay.
So I think that either she got axed out in the syndication edits, or she is just credit only for this episode. But she was a regular at this point.
I did want to mention for Linda Goodfriend, she is still apparently the acting chair, one of the main faculty members of the New York Film Academy, has been for the last 6 years.
Oh,
yeah, that's
fascinating. I had no idea. No clue at all. That's cool.
But back on track, as we're going through this funeral, though, we get to the big reveal. The Laverne almost giving the sweater. Drop the boot, Laverne. I want to keep the boot. Oh God, that's good.
I want to keep the boot. Okay, first of all, we got to break these down entrance by entrance. Okay,
we do.
Let's break this down. First, Carmine comes in and dances. Why does Carmine come in dancing? We don't know. He thinks that's what Fonzie would want. He says.
Yeah, that was from the Big Ragu to You. I knew that's the way you would have wanted it. To which I say, queer subtext? Question mark?
Well, it's been well established that they were high school friends, so that's quite possible.
Anyway, then we get the boys with their sign. Good luck at your new location.
Pax has told me that that's what they want at their funeral. They want the wreath that says that.
Oh my God, that's gorgeous.
Flowers.
Squig, his boots died with him off. We'll miss you, Fonz. You was the nicest guy whatever beat me up.
Such great lines, such great delivery. And then the boys are actually quiet and solemn and stand aside, and Laverne and Shirley enter to be bombastic. It's just like, oh,
and
so great.
I love their amazing boo-boo faces.
Yeah. Laverne's wearing her fancy outfit, and Shirley's wearing her nice black dress.
Yes.
And they're just horrified that he's been blown out of his boots, so to speak, and Laverne wants to take one. Shirley won't let her. And it's like...
Right. The big boss must have wanted him in a hurry, pulled him right out of his boots.
Oh,
and then eventually Shirley's remark to get her to drop the boot is, you want Fonzie to stand barefoot on that big stag line in the sky? No, he'd kill me.
Yeah. But then she tries to go, I gotta leave him with something. She tries to pull her shirt off, which is amazing. That is such a biker move. That is such a biker lady move. That is a biker babe move that happens at funerals where you give your broad your old man as he goes under the dirt once and for all.
The thing about that is that this is around the era they shot the robbery, so that actually does kind of make a form of sense.
Yeah, honestly does. To be honest, yeah. And then this is a holy place.
I gotta leave him something, and she rips off the L from her sweater,
which is all very nice too. That's a very nice form of shirt rending grief.
Yes,
it works very, 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 very well. And then everybody heads to Cunningham's to deliver their condolences, and they're introduced to the widow Fonzarelli. And Lenny
does she know?
The best line. That feels half improvised, but I know it's not. I think it's from the script. And then Laverne just elbows Lenny right in the gut to shut him up.
Both the girls do. Yeah, I double checked.
I thought it was just Laverne. Okay, it was both of them. Okay.
But I love that group of characters looks twice. Everyone else in the room is just like taking it at face value, and they're the ones that are like, huh. Wait a second.
They are the ones who end up expressing a little bit of wiseness and cynicism.
Well, it also is, I think, emblematic of Laverne and Shirley. It's a smarter and more cynical show.
Yeah. To be honest. I love that the way they look back though, where they just take that one little glance, two little glances, just looking over their shoulders. So now comes the time of the rescuing.
Yep.
The chase of Rocky and
where it turns out that Potsy could have gotten out the whole time because his ropes were loose. And then it's like, my arm's free. Way to go, arm. Anyway, there's Candyman, and it's too bad for you. You had to go, kid, but better you than us. So long, chump. And then Fonzarelli comes out of the coffin. The chump lives. Yeah. I've been had. And the chase begins. And then ends quickly.
Bonanza! And the bad guys go to jail.
Yep. And then we get to the tag scene where Potsy wants to be tied up again.
Which, again, weird. What the heck is going on in this episode?
There's a lot of times I have to ask that same question, but
oh man.
Anyway, so to finish up the actor notes, because I do have a few of these. Okay, so first of all, the former Mrs. Anson Williams, Laurie Mahaffey, also is in this episode. She's, I think, in the background of One Sequence, I believe.
Yes.
Yeah, Jennifer Jerome, and then poof to the ether with her. Then we have John Moskell Jr. as T-Man Peterson. He was another working actor at the time. This is his second gig after Good Heavens 3 years prior. So after this, he shows up as a police lab man in Scared to Death, which is an early Willie Malone horror flick. But I have to make mention of this because, he does the TV grind. Days of Our Lives, Heart to Heart, BJ and the Bear, blah, blah, blah. Drops off for about 10 years and then returns in 1998 for the monster flick Progeny. In a small role. Yes, but listen, he's in a Brian Hughes and a Stuart Gordon joint. We're mentioning it. But his most recent part was in the first episode of Danger Force, which was co-created by Dana Olson of Laverne and Shirley's Child's Play and Young at Heart. Richard Mall, we talked a bunch about on the Defiant One episode, but just to add a little bit more, he was in the 2012 direct-to-video schlock film Sorority Party Massacre, which also had Leslie Easterbrook in it.
Yeah. Cast connections, we love them. Oh, it's so sweet.
But in any case, it's wonderful to see him here during the beginning of his career, because this is pretty early. Before we get the absolute madcap ups and downs of his very prolific acting roles, to show that he had two faces, as it turns out. references. Anyway, also of note, he was in not one but 2 segments of Night Train to Terror. That is a cool distinction. We've got to talk about Gino Conforti as Sticky, because when we did High Neighbor Book 2, we were not doing as thorough of actor notes yet. But this is Jacques the Waiter. He had already done that episode by this point. His history in showbiz has some wonderful highlights, including he was apparently one of the original fiddlers on the roof during the Zero Mostel days on Broadway. He was also in Viva Max, working with Jerry Paris there as well. He popped into Get Smart as an agent. He was Agent 8.5 in one episode. He is also in The Flying Nun, Barefoot in the Park, The Waltons, Man in La Mancha, and of course, 11 episodes of Mary Hartman in the role of Dr. Fratkus.
Hey! Go Mary Hartman, Mary.
He kept strong in the TV game, including Quincy M.E., Chips, Heart to Heart, a regular role in Three's Company. He did 2 episodes of Night Court, which I believe did see him reunited with co-star Richard Mall. And while many actors can say they've done a lot of things, not all of them, as he, can say that they were in both an episode of Beverly Hills 90210 in 1993 and voiced a character in the American Godzilla cartoon from the year 2000. Gino Conforti's last feature film role also reunited him with Ron Howard, wonderfully enough, as he played one of the Cardinals in Angels and Demons.
Oh, that's great. I love that he hired him for that. Ron always did hire a lot of the regular faces from Happy Days and sometimes from Laverne Shirley and put them in his movies. So, applause for him doing that.
Last but not least is Cliff Emmett as the Candyman. This dude, as I mentioned, the term a character actor with a capital C. Yes. From an episode of Ironside to Invasion of the Bee-Girls, Thunderbolt and Lightfoot to Jackson County Jail, Mary Hartman to Stingray. This guy was in Halloween 2 and an episode of The Incredible Hulk in the same year. His career showed no signs of slowing through the 1980s, including Hellhole, Return to Horror High, Who's the Boss? Then going on to an episode of Baywatch and Murder, She Wrote in the same year, and he's even in Digital Man, which I riffed with the guys at 1985 Games on Video Quest. Link in the description below. We got to point out his wonderful death scene in that movie. This guy was even in Mouse Hunt. But sadly, though, yes, Cliff Emmett did pass away in 2022, but he did so at the age of 85 with a hell of a long run behind him. His Pasadena Playhouse training served him well, thanks to the encouragement of Keenan Wynn to enroll in the first place during the mid-1960s, connected because his father used to do car repairs, and was the personal mechanic for many celebrities.
Ah, that's cool. That's super cool. That was really neat. I guess.
So,
yeah.
So,
okay.
Yeah, I think that's all of them.
Yes, it is.
And holy crap, 2.5 hours.
Yes, we talked for a very long time about this. Why don't we wrap this up to saying which ones were our favorite and which ones were our least favorites for this patch?
Yeah, that's easy. Fonzie's Funeral Part 1 and 2, I think, was my favorite. I would give that a solid 7.5, 8 out of 10 for the 2 of them together. Yeah. Least favorite, probably, despite the fact I don't hate it, it might be... it might be either Football Frolics or Date with Fonzie. I'm not sure. Because the problem with Date with Fonzie is, man, I just hate that old man at the supermarket.
I can't believe him. He's gross. I can't believe him. My top is either Fonzie the Superstar or it is Fonzie's Funeral. Fonzie's Funeral is just one of those great, rich Marshallverse 2-parters that works beautifully, that has a lot of layers to it, and has gang against everyone themes, which I do love. And it's one of the best cross-canon cameos that we get from the gang, and I really enjoy that. Fonzie Superstar is just a great episode about Fonzie coming in hot and Richie going, well, if you're so hot, well, prove it. And then he does.
Yeah. Challenging him. Yeah.
Yeah. There's less of an unbalanced dynamic between them in that particular episode. Finally, you get like Richie pushing Fonzie to do something, and it's one of the early episodes where they start changing and being more equal friends versus Fonzie being Richie's guide through life, romance. Yeah. My least favorite, I guess, is going to be A Date with Fonzie because of the early seasons Fonzie characterization that I don't twig to quite as well. And because of way the old man is treated, and all that garbage. I don't enjoy that part, but the girls part of it is pristine and that needs to be watched. Even if you just chop it out of the episode, you need to watch it.
All right. Well, this would be the point when we would do our drive-in totals for it, but
No
I forgot
boobs.
what?
No boobs.
Yeah, there were no naked breasts. There was not really any. There was one explosion, which we're gonna get there,
Yeah.
but there were no car chase. There wasn't even really any like sort of kung fu of any type, which I have to give. So I'm gonna have to take points away from all of them for that. But
Yeah.
look, there ain't no titties and ain't no kung fu, and that's whatever. Anyway, but yeah, we've talked a lot about all these episodes. So if you've stayed with us to the end, I'm actually going to say I'm gonna hopefully not get vetoed on this, but I just want to give you a big major thanks. We will not be having a break for commercials at this point because the fact that this is a thank you episode to our audience that has stuck with us, that have followed us on social media, that have followed us on YouTube, that have followed us for some of you for quite a long time, and we really appreciate it. And we hope that you stuck it out with us through listening to us ramble and get tangents and all that kind of stuff. And we appreciate you so much.
Yes, we do. Thank you very, very much for listening. It means a lot to us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So as per usual, so if you are coming into this as Happy Days fans that haven't listened to our Laverne Shirley podcast, you can normally find us at Night After Night Pod on Facebook, Tumblr, WordPress, Patreon, or YouTube, or wherever good podcasts can be found. You also can find us on Twitter as of now at Night Af Night PC, and we'll see how that all goes. Elon Musk. Anywho, this is usually the part where I ask you what's next, but I think whatever the next thing we're going to record is, I think the reunions, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's gonna be the last part of it. We haven't seen the reunion. You haven't seen the reunion skit.
Yeah.
So
that's the idea. That's the plan.
You're gonna find out, I guess, quasi where Laverne Shirley end up. Quasi. It depends on if you want to count this as canon. That there are multiple different endings and multiple different ways for us to imagine the future of the gang.
Yeah, and if not, we'll just write our own script with blackjack and hookers and kung fu and titties.
We've seen that version, and it's not quite Happy Days. Anyway, oh dear, not quite Happy Days 2. Fonzie loves Pinky. Anyway.
Oh, gosh.
Anyway, yes. Bye, y'all. Thank you for everything. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Thank you for doing whatever you're doing. And for heaven's sake, if you could turn the jukebox on and off, don't do it near the deep fryer. Bye, y'all.